Alright, you and I are about to see how this prisoner of war uses his hidden talents to surprise everyone. After getting dumped by his girl and quitting his job, he spent 5 straight years rotting away as the only player left in the world of Pangea. The reason? This game was absolute hell. But on that day, he's reborn as a slave inside Pangea, a world with a system interface where he possesses 13 hidden talents, making him an absolute genius with every single weapon. Out in the scorching desert, a group of warriors suddenly faces off against a massive 3-headed beast. With spears gripped tight, they prepare for a battle they probably won't survive. Suddenly, a blade sinks deep into his chest. Even while bleeding out, Randolph keeps his eyes on the prize. He pushes forward without a second thought, dropping the next enemy with a single, perfect strike. After that brutal wave of attacks, he stops to take a shaky breath and find his strength. They scream at him, calling him a monster. But he just leans on his blade, feeling the weight of it all. Seeing a chance, the leader orders his men to kill the monster. But Randolph's steady gaze never wavers even as blood streams down his face. Even battered and broken, a terrifying smile starts to spread across his face. He gasps for air one last time, then launches himself forward, diving headfirst into the middle of the screaming enemy group. Now watch closely as he grips his weapon and system windows pop up, activating all his hidden talents at once. Seeing his fatigue, the enemies scream for everyone to attack together and end this. He responds with a primal roar. Suddenly, we see a messy room filled with empty food wrappers. Slumped in his chair, a young man sits completely glued to his glowing computer monitor. The game over screen flashes red, mocking him. His character is finally, officially dead. He screams in frustration, cursing this trash game while sitting alone in his dark, cluttered room. He glances out the window, watching the busy city move on like nothing happened. With an empty look in his eyes, he turns back to the desk where his keyboard is buried under layers of garbage. He just sits there for a moment, staring blankly at the screen without making a sound. Suddenly, his gaze turns ice cold as he focuses back on the monitor, where the login screen for Pangea is waiting for him. The game promised to grant any wish, but it mostly just broke people's spirits. 5 years later, the game remains undefeated, and the player base has completely vanished. From day one, everyone hated how hard it was, especially with bosses that felt literally impossible. You couldn't even trust your friends, since anyone could stab you in the back at any time. To make things worse, hunter NPCs would track you down for bounties, and if you died, it was all over. Because of all that stress, the game's massive hype died out almost overnight. You saw that too, right? He's starting to think someone is actually preventing anyone from winning. He regrets 5 years of wasted effort and foos and furting first, and fode, and fosed and foov, but suddenly something unexpected on the screen catches his eye and leaves him completely shocked. A notification pops up, his character is being deleted, but he's gaining a massive amount of points. He's shocked to see that those unique items were actually worth a fortune in soul points. In this game, your value is converted into points you can use to buy god-tier talents for a new run. He remembers his old character, thinking 10,000 points was actually a lot. Now he's sitting on over 1,600,000 points. A dangerous smile creeps across his face as he considers his options. He gives up on beating the game properly and clicks random just to have some fun, pressing the button down firmly to confirm his final choice. Flashback time. A woman holds a cup, looking down as she prepares to break his heart. He's confused, but she makes it clear she can't be with a man who has zero future. She starts talking about marriage and her age, but he just looks away in total silence, unable to find any words. She keeps going, listing every single reason why they can't be together anymore. All her friends are marrying successful guys from big companies, and when she looks at him, he just doesn't compare to any of them. He drops his head in defeat. She stands up, tells him to forget her, and walks away. In a tiny whisper, he just wishes her a good life. Trust me, we're just getting started after that 5-year relationship officially ended. Alright, you and I are about to see how a massive rage quit led to the wildest isekai journey of his entire life. Back in the real world, he realized just how pathetic his shut-in life had truly become. Determined to change things, he yelled and clicked the mouse button while the system immediately burned through 100 soul points. He couldn't believe what was happening right there on his computer screen. A hidden piece triggered, and he wondered what it was as an invitation to Pangea flashed, leaving him completely lost. Suddenly, an invisible force dragged him toward the monitor as he stared in terror at the blinding light filling the room. A monstrous voice screamed about destroying the world its miserable master had built. Sucked into the void, he cried out in agony as he fell through a world of absolute and terrifying chaos. A voice echoed in his mind, and his terrified gaze locked onto the madness unfolding. He collapsed onto the desk before sliding, lifeless and unconscious, onto the cold bedroom floor. Stick with me, because everything changes once he wakes up in Pangea, being whipped and called a useless waste of space. A man threatened to feed him to the Hydra, warning that one slip meant certain death. Startled by the name, He turned just as a massive foot slammed down, shaking the very earth. Guards lashed out at the prisoners, driving the line forward with no mercy. Shackled and confused, he looked up at the terrifying Hydra, his hands bound by heavy iron chains. Another strike landed, and the guard barked at him to get back into formation immediately. Lying in the dirt, he heard the man screaming for him to get up right now as he stood with burning determination. The prisoners trudged on through the blistering heat and choking dust of the desert. Looking at his new appearance, he realized the monster in the distance was the exact same legendary Hydra from the game Pangea world. Scanning the horizon, he realized the entire landscape felt hauntingly familiar to him. Hoping for a miracle, he called for a status window, and a glowing panel appeared. His eyes widened in disbelief as he scanned the information floating right before him. The screen displayed every single attribute, proving to him that he had actually entered the brutal and dangerous world of Pangea. Now here's the crazy part, he's not just a regular noob anymore. He questioned why all his attributes were at level 12, but then he was startled to find 13 hidden traits in his window. Suddenly, every prisoner froze in place, staring at something massive on the horizon. He looked around frantically, trying to make sense of the sudden silence and fear. Even the once calm guards grew incredibly tense as a massive cloud of dust on the horizon revealed an approaching desert army. The Desert Queen's forces emerged from the haze, breaking their pact with a sudden, violent assault. Their leader ordered the charge, while our hero stood completely paralyzed, unable to move while staring at the sheer scale of war. Looking closer at the woman, he recognized the legendary and terrifying Serpent Princess. A system quest suddenly popped up, a survival mission where failure meant his literal death. Almost instantly, a lethal hail of arrows rained down upon the defenseless prisoners. Men screamed as they were struck down, desperately scrambling for cover while calling for help in the absolute and bloody chaos. Covered in grime, he watched the massacre unfold, his mind racing to process the danger. Just then, the system kicked in, and one of his 13 hidden abilities finally activated. The notification promised endless stamina, and his focus shifted entirely to staying alive. Spotting a fallen guard, he knew he had to reach that sword to stand a chance. He lunged forward, his fingers curling around the cold steel of the abandoned blade. Rising with the weapon in hand, he faced the oncoming enemies with cold determination. An attacker lunged at him, but he blocked the strike and countered with a powerful, direct blow. He sent his opponent flying, landing a precise, lethal cut that ended the fight instantly. As he reset his stance, the Weapon Master trait activated, sharpening his focus into something superhuman. Sprinting through the sand, he locked onto his next target with lethal precision. Trust me, you and I are about to see this scoundrel dodge the guard's blade and turn into a god. Stick with me, you and I are about to see a slave turn into a total beast. He grips the hilt, swinging a staff for the first time, and yet, he lands a perfect hit on his enemy. Another guard roars, charging in with his blade raised high. He ducks the lethal strike, realizing his hidden skills are far beyond anything he ever imagined. From swords to axes, his body remembers every weapon. He blocks, instantly locking blades with his enemy. Suddenly, he sees the blade's path, predicting exactly where the enemy will strike. His eyes focus. He is reading the flow of battle. One quick lean, and he is safe. He lunges, smashing his opponent's face before snatching a heavy axe from the ground. With the new weapon in hand, he tears into the next guard instantly. He ignores their pleas, finishing them off. Exhausted, he faces the remaining soldiers alone. Gasping for air, he won't back down. The guards sneer, calling him a pathetic wretch. Now watch this. The system triggers a trait that buffs his weapon proficiency. Level 6, Proficiency Night Level. He realizes his hidden traits are his only hope for survival. But 500 enemies? This mission is borderline impossible, even for him. Elsewhere, the Serpent Princess kneels. The Queen asks if the demonic territory expedition actually failed. Demanding the truth, the Queen glares at the princess, waiting for her to confirm the news. With her head down, the princess admits the mission was a total disaster. The Queen declares they cannot let the continent blame them for this failure. Kill every survivor. The Queen orders every trace of their failure to be wiped out completely. Succeed, and she promises to finally lift the princess's heavy curse. Fists clenched, the princess agrees. She cannot fail again under any circumstances. Back in the desert, Isabella watches the carnage. A subordinate asks if the cleanup is done. He reports that one slave is still standing and refusing to die. Surprised, she wonders how a slave survived. Guard bodies litter the bloody sand. You feel that too? Just as he's about to collapse, a level-up alert pops before him. The system notification flashes. His health, mana, and stamina are all fully restored. Refreshed, he stands ready. The leader yells for all his men to back away. The princess appears on a beast, shocking all the soldiers on the field. He stares her down. Isabella von Dersian has finally arrived for their showdown. A status window pops up, but almost all her information is totally blocked. She is level 8. In this world, level 7 is already a monster. He can't win. Level 8 is an achievement only for the world's strongest leaders. He braces for the disaster, but notices a weird active curse on her status window. She leaps down gracefully, admitting his talent is actually quite impressive. But she warns him, despite that talent, he must die right here. He remembers why he always loved the most difficult games. For him, there was nothing better than beating an impossible challenge. Trusting his instincts, he stands his ground as she charges in to attack. She leaps high into the air, preparing a massive blow to strike him down squarely. He smiles confidently, asking if she wants to remove the curse. Hearing the offer, she freezes her blade mid-swing, stopping right before him. Without showing a hint of fear, he keeps talking with a perfectly calm expression. Furious, she points a sharp dagger directly at his exposed throat. Looking deep into his eyes, she demands to know who he really is. He explains that he's the one who lost everything but now guides the stars. Introducing himself as the Star Weaver, he offers her his help. Her eyes widen in total shock. She never expected a proposal like this. It worked. You and I just saw a legendary move, and this rare NPC class is his ultimate trump card. Alright, you and I are diving into a story where a creator meets his own abandoned creation. To break her curse, she needs a Star Weaver's blessing, and she's thinking hard about his offer. He was dead certain she'd do anything to be free of that dark magic. The catch? Isabella von Dersian is a character he literally invented. Standing before her creator, she has absolutely no clue that her entire existence is just lines of code. While every other player chases the game's end, he'd left her behind trapped and suffering under the Queen's cruel curse for years. Still confused, she simply asks him what name he's going by now. He claims the name Randolph, and the system locks in his new alias. For a long, tense moment, the two of them just stare in dead silence. She finally sheathes her dagger, warning him that his execution is officially postponed for now. Backing away, she drops one final, bone-chilling threat. If this whole Star Weaver thing turns out to be a lie, she's going to personally make sure he doesn't draw another breath. She turns to her soldiers, ordering them to serve him with absolute care. Quest complete. The system ranks his performance as legendary. Thanks to some serious beginner's luck, his rewards are massive and he's scoring top-tier loot. Totally drained, he collapses onto the sand. It finally sinks in, he actually made it out alive. Now stick with me, because his Hall of Fame score is about to skyrocket. As night falls over the capital, our journey moves to a grand estate. Inside a decadent suite, he hits the bathtub to finally check out his winnings. He stays focused, scrolling through the floating system windows while the music sets the vibe. Scanning the loot, his jaw drops when he sees the soul of the Hydra. It's a game-changer that starts syncing the reality of Pangea with his own world. Suddenly, 3 maids burst into the bathroom, catching him completely off guard. Armed with towels, they offer to give him a full scrub down. He tells them to just wash his feet, wondering if the game is testing his self-control right now. One maid moves in close and starts washing his hands. He recognizes them as Isabella's personal attendants, so he knows he has to keep a totally straight face. He fights for his life to stay composed and ignore his natural instincts. Averting his eyes, he focuses everything on not looking even a little suspicious. Suddenly, a maid gasps, spotting something she definitely wasn't supposed to see. Panicked, he rips open his status window to try and fix whatever's going wrong before things get awkward. Confused by the chaos, he tries to make sense of the notification. The window reveals that the barrier between worlds is officially starting to vanish. Processing it all, he keeps reading the urgent system alerts as the Hall of Fame opens up. And yeah, we're officially looking at the new #1 ranked player in the world. One of the maids speaks up, asking if he's truly a Star Weaver. His eyes go wide as he notices something he missed. Looking at the list of names, it hits him he wasn't the only player summoned into the world of Pangea. But then, another notification pops up that grabs his attention even more than the rankings. He stares at the screen. The logout button has finally been activated. This is his big break to escape this nightmare game. He waves the maids off, telling them he needs total privacy to communicate with the stars. Talk about a convenient excuse, right? He warns them that any interruption could make him lose his celestial powers forever. Hearing that, the poor maid is completely stunned, having no clue how to even respond to that. Wishing him luck with the heavens, they exit and swing the heavy doors shut. Finally alone, he gets ready to pull the trigger on his escape plan. Major relief. He can't believe that flimsy excuse actually worked. Stepping out of the tub, he admits he was terrified of being stuck in this fantasy world for good. Saying goodbye to this place forever, he reaches for the logout button. With one quick tap, he hits exit. The system kicks into gear, displaying a loading screen and telling him to just wait a moment while it processes. As he leaves, a final warning appears. Dying in the game means dying for real. Back in reality, he opens his eyes to his quiet, empty room. But when he looks out the window, his heart stops. The entire city is engulfed in flames and total destruction. Down in the streets, people are running for their lives, screaming in pure terror. Then, a massive creature stomps through the fire, crushing everything. His phone buzzes on the nightstand with a desperate emergency disaster alert. Paralyzed by the sight, he wonders what the hell happened to the world. Suddenly, a giant monster's face slams right against his window. The creature lets out a deafening roar, revealing something absolutely twisted inside its maw. Terrified, he lets out a scream and falls back, crawling away in pure horror. Nothing makes sense. Why are Pangea's monsters here in the real world? But look closely, that small golden object falling beside him? You and I know exactly what that is. It's the golden rule fragment from the game. He remembers his survival mission and the moment he was completely surrounded by enemies. Flashbacks of brutal battles and his first meeting with the princess flood his mind. All right, you and I are about to dive into a world where gaming becomes a terrifying reality. Terrified, he wakes from a dream that felt way too real. Looking around his messy room, he wonders if he just stayed up too late playing video games. He tries to shake it off, thinking life is not some fantasy novel. But then, right on his desk, legendary game items start materializing out of thin air. Clutching the golden fragment, he screams, wondering if every single moment was actually real. Panic sets in as he frantically digs through his pockets. He rushes to his computer, only to find the official game page has completely vanished from the internet. With the site down, he wonders how long reality has been broken. Suddenly, blood-curdling screams for help echo from the streets below. Looking through the window, he sees a monster brutally attacking a man, slamming him into the pavement. As the victim falls, the crowd scatters in terror. On the streets, police fire their weapons at the beasts while shouting for backup over their radios. After receiving a strange alert, he stares out at the chaos, questioning what on earth is happening. He recognizes those creatures. They are monsters from Pangea. Stumbling back in shock, he accidentally drops the golden fragment onto the floor. A message flashes in his mind. The boundary between their worlds is fading away forever. Paralyzed by fear, he scans the room, completely lost on what to do. His hand brushes the floor, finally grabbing that mysterious golden object again. Holding the item tight, he sits down. A desperate plan to fix everything starts forming in his head. Now pay attention, because this is where he realizes his legendary game items might actually work in the real world too. He rips open the reward bag, and a blinding light erupts from within. Suddenly, Michaela's sword and the Hydra's soul are floating right before his eyes. Grabbing the glowing soul, he wonders how to trigger its power without a computer mouse. He remembers the fragment description. It synchronizes both worlds. He cannot survive this alone, but he knows his legendary game character definitely can. He activates the synchronization, and his soul finally merges with his powerful character, Randolph. The system warning appears. He only has 24 hours left. Outside, a lone figure sprints past piles of bodies on the ruined street. Through the absolute carnage, a mother runs for her life, clutching her young daughter tightly in her arms. The little girl cries out for her father. Her mother promises he is coming, but then heavy building debris starts raining down. The impact is massive. Dust fills the air, and the girl is suddenly ripped away from her mother. Seeing her mom pinned under the rubble, the girl screams. Her mother begs her to run. Just then, a stranger rushes over to help. Bleeding out, the mother pleads with the woman to take the child and flee. With a look of pure determination, the woman makes a choice. Saying she is sorry, she promises to get the girl to safety, but as she turns, a new threat closes in. Before she can even blink, a monster strikes, piercing right through her body with its razor-sharp claws. Still holding the child, she faces the beast. They are trapped in imminent danger. Suddenly, a flash of steel cuts the air. Slashing through the monster's claws, our hero saves them both in seconds. With his eyes glowing with power, he turns to the other beasts. He charges forward, sword in hand, shredding every monster in his path. Unable to believe her eyes, the woman stares at the scene in complete and total shock. You and I both know that feeling when a hero shows up just in time. She hugs the child, wondering who this savior is. Suddenly, the boss creature turns its focus on him. She screams a warning, telling him to watch his back before it strikes. The monster lunges with everything it has, bringing a massive claw down to crush the life out of him. Collapsed on the ground, she trembles in fear. But then, a massive 9-headed dragon appears, leaving everyone frozen in disbelief. Atop one of its heads, a small creature prepares an order. With a single word, he commands the giant beast to stand still. Watching the impossible unfold, the woman is completely paralyzed by the sheer power on display. She smiles, wondering if this is a beautiful dream or a nightmare. The little girl finally reaches her mother amidst the rubble. The woman watches as the daughter desperately clings to her mother, crying out in relief during the chaos. Her eyes shift to the side, catching something unbelievable. As monsters devour the dragon, she wonders who this man really is. Across the world, monsters are attacking and destroying everything. But alongside the destruction, legendary warriors are emerging to fight back. One warrior's armor begins to glow with divine light. Raising his blade, he tells the survivors not to worry. Watching the news, someone sneers at the heroic speech. Lounging on his couch, he mocks those who wasted their fragments like total fools. Gripping his gear, Player Massacre realizes the world has changed. He knows only the top-ranked players will rule this new reality. And trust me, you and I just found our #1 Randolph. Alright, you and I are diving into a mystery about a legendary ghost player who was the first to almost conquer the entire game. But that final expedition ended in a total bloodbath. As the top-tier player, he was summoned back the second his character died. Upon being summoned, players inherit all their old character's overpowered talents. He smiles, knowing only he could achieve such a high score. Returning to the game, he realizes just how messy this new reality is. Now, monsters and players are spawning into the real world with full powers. Closing his eyes, the truth finally begins to sink in. He remembers being so close to victory before that brutal betrayal ruined everything. The mercenaries he once trusted turned their blades on him. He starts to wonder if those traitors were actually summoned players, too. Stepping out of the bath, he realizes he is now a walking target. With the worlds colliding, staying on the sidelines simply is not an option. Watch closely here. After vowing to get stronger, he meets Isabella on her throne, where she asks about his conversation with the stars. He confirms it, claiming he has finally come to fulfill his promise. But he has one condition, leaving Isabella intrigued. She dismisses her servants, eager to hear exactly what kind of deal he is offering. When he asks to enter the sanctuary, she is left completely speechless. She calls him a madman and refuses, but he will not budge. With a smirk, he says that is where his destiny lies. Under a glowing moon, the ruins of the sanctuary loom ahead. Stepping through pools of blood, she enters the cursed site without a second thought. She moves through the halls, walking past the corpses of defeated guards. Dagger in hand, she stays alert for any threat. Watching from the shadows, he thinks how lucky he is to have her fighting alongside him. Back in a flashback, Isabella is still reeling from his insane sanctuary request. Now pay attention here, because he explains he is about to obtain a new class, and those stars are right there for him to claim. She is skeptical, asking if the stars are real, and he confirms. He needs to grab a star to break his curse with a divine blessing. Sensing the danger, she gives him one final chance to turn back now. Relieved, he knows his head would have rolled if he failed to convince her. Reaching the gate, she announces they have finally arrived. Facing the pitch-black stairs, he prepares to enter the Holy Land. The system rings out, warning him the recommended level for this place is 8. But his demonic resistance lets him walk right in. Thinking of the prize, he decides it is probably safer to let Isabella lead. Still, his real focus is on something else entirely. Descending into the dark, he gets ready to claim a powerful new class. His eyes stay on the prize, knowing that specific class is his. Walking through ruins, they go deeper into the shadows. Isabella stays silent, her expression becoming more serious with every step they take. Her long hair flows as she scans the area for hidden dangers. She seems strangely confident in this death trap. Seeing her pause, he catches up and asks where she thinks she is going next. She smiles, warning him that the bridge ahead is nothing but a trap. She teases him for being scared, laughing at his hesitation. But her face quickly sours when he fires back with a sharp accusation. She calls him a coward, crossing her arms in defiance. Faking a leg cramp, he sits down and shamelessly asks her to carry him. She screams in rage, asking if he has a death wish for suggesting that. He argues that carrying her is much better than watching her second-guess every step. Reluctantly, she shuts her eyes and yields to his logic. Now on his back, she grumbles that she is only doing this once. Telling her to hold on tight, he gets ready to bolt. He takes off like a shot across the rocky plain. Panicked, she yells that he is heading straight for a dangerous dead end. He ignores her, jumping headfirst into the massive, dark abyss. During the fall, the system triggers his secret hidden mutation trait. With this new sight, he spots a hidden path that was once invisible. He confirms her suspicions, claiming this is the only true way. She is stunned, wondering how he knows secrets even she missed. He just smirks, asking if the second in command is feeling afraid. Furious, she asks if he really wants to die for being heavy. Climbing the ladder, she notices he acts like they are old friends. She asks if they have actually met somewhere before. He tells her they have never actually shared the same space like this before. He admits to seeing her many times, but she never saw him. And trust me, you and I will see where they go next. Alright, you and I are diving right into the next level of this mysterious sanctuary, landing in a field of flowers. He remembers this place is locked behind a barrier. Deep in a cave, a sinister red glow begins to pulse in the dark. Stone creatures start pulling themselves right out of the rock walls. They rise from the dirt, ready to tear into these intruders. Look, a massive stone golem with a glowing crystal in its chest just crashed the party. At his current level, he knows a single scratch from the Guardian means certain death. She mocks him, asking if his cramp is gone. He just tells her to shut up and focus. Without warning, the golem strikes with everything it has. That massive stone fist is aiming right for both of them. The monster brings its fist down with crushing power, completely shattering the ground beneath them. You and I saw this coming. Isabella just smiles and effortlessly shatters the golem with one hit. She shatters the creature's arm into rocks next. She warns the beast that this is going to be over fast. She draws her daggers and starts carving through the smaller golems like they are made of paper. The big one tries to regroup, but she is too fast. She wipes out every golem with one final surge. He is actually impressed by the power of the character he designed. She uses her chains to bind and crush them. After a quick dodge, she delivers a finishing blow that turns the remaining golem into dust. Suddenly, a system window pops up right in his face. With the boss dead, it offers him the artisan class. In Pangea, that is a top-tier summoning class, but it is not what he wants. He rejects the offer without hesitating. He says no because there is only one person who can give him the specific class he is actually after. Just then, a strange energy ripples through the air, leaving Isabella completely on edge and alert. The energy surges across the flower field and climbs the mountains. The system warns them that the local king is furious. He looks up calmly. It is finally time for the real boss to show its face. Trust me, things are about to get truly dangerous as the ancient serpent king, Dramat, finally reveals her massive and terrifying form. He recognizes the giant serpent immediately. This is the legendary guardian of the sanctuary mountain. He tells her not to worry, but the creature fires a massive beam of energy straight at them. Isabella gets blasted backward, getting slammed into the ground by the sheer force of the impact. She barely catches herself with her daggers. He just stands there, smiling at her with a truly bizarre expression. She is completely stunned. This is the kind guide he promised? She starts questioning if he has lost his mind. The guardian demands a fight, but Isabella screams that she is not the one challenging it. He mocks her, asking if she is quitting. Before she can answer, the guardian's tail comes swinging again. She gets hit hard, shouting at the top of her lungs that she is not the one they want. She asks for a plan, but he has drawn a total blank. Then, his eyes widen as the truth finally clicks. Dramat is a spiritual being who draws all her wisdom from the ancient energy of the stars. Back when he cleared this as Wilhelm, his strongest character, the Guardian simply let him pass through the mountain without any trouble. He realizes the problem. Dramat only goes on the offensive against those she sees as weaklings. A plan finally hits him, but Isabella gets tossed aside again, hitting the dirt with a thud. She is paralyzed in pain, gritting her teeth. She starts wondering if trusting this guy was a huge mistake. The serpent's tail rises for the killing blow. He suddenly yells the creature's true name at the top of his lungs. He orders her to stop. Miraculously, the tail freezes mid-air as the giant serpent slowly turns toward him. The serpent is absolutely shocked. She stares at him and demands to know how a mere human could know her secret, true name. He just smiles and tells her that her master, Wilhelm, has finally come home. Isabella watches the scene from the ground, totally confused. Even the serpent is skeptical, asking him if he is truly the legendary Wilhelm. The giant serpent just lets out a thunderous laugh, completely mocking his ridiculous claim. He has to cover his ears as she insults his current, pathetic state. Wilhelm was a perfect, godlike superhuman. Her eyes glow as she remembers. Her former master had a perfect end, and this man is not him. She screams that he is not worthy of that name. Suddenly, blinding light explodes around his body, revealing a brand new form. Stick around, let's see if he survives that absolutely devastating final tail strike. Alright, you and I are about to dive into a story where game secrets change the world. The monster is furious, demanding to know how he found the ancient contract. He just smiles, knowing some things were never meant to be common knowledge. That contract is simple. Whoever claims the star becomes the new ruler of this mountain and everything living on it. From that moment on, the Guardian is bound to obey their new master's every command. He realizes the rules are working perfectly, and he's totally immune to the contract's bite. The creature is baffled, questioning his true identity and where he came from. He tells her the star will prove who he really is, but she warns him. The star shows no mercy to anyone who isn't worthy of its divine power. With a smirk, he says they'll find out the truth once they reach the location. His arrogance is driving the serpent insane. She wonders what he's hiding, but agrees to lead him, even if dealing with him is a total nightmare. She glides ahead, ready to show our duo the path to the celestial star. When they arrive, Isabella is skeptical. Is it really here? The Guardian just points upward, toward the peak of a massive monument. Look there, she says. Resting on that altar is the prize, but it's not a jewel, it's a skull, sitting right on top of a cryptic, glowing symbol. He explains that this is actually Rhea's face. When the goddess died, her form split into 32 separate stars scattered across the world. As he reaches for it, he notes that this skull is the key to true transcendence. Now, watch closely, because things are about to get explosive. The skull flares with blinding light, followed by a shockwave that levels everything. Isabella screams out for him, terrified he's been vaporized. The serpent just laughs, assuming the star rejected him. She thinks he wasn't worthy after all. But then, a silhouette emerges from the smoke, still gripping that glowing skull. He looks slightly annoyed, but otherwise, he's completely untouched by that massive energy blast. To him, it was nothing. Death is only meant for the weak bugs of this world. He remembers the game mechanics. Claiming a star grants you a specialized class. Right on cue, the skull begins to crack, leaking pure radiance. Suddenly, his hidden stats and abilities erupt into the air. Through the light, a terrifying new power takes form, the power of one who has truly faced destruction. System alerts start flooding his vision, detailing his brand new, overpowered abilities. His entire body absorbs the light, vibrating with raw, god-tier energy. The system makes it official. He has successfully unlocked the ultra-rare class, Star Successor. Isabella is frozen. She can't believe her eyes. He actually absorbed the star's power. Trust me, this next choice changes Isabella's life forever. Bathed in light, he asks her one simple question. Once this curse is gone, what will you do? She doesn't blink. She wants out of this desert. She wants to find her lost family. He's willing to give her that blessing, but it's not free. With a stone-cold look, he demands one thing. She must serve him for 1 full year. We cut to the queen on her throne, looking tense. But back at the altar, Isabella is ready to give her word and swear her life away. He places a hand on her shoulder, preparing to bind their fates together forever. She grips his hand, reminding him that a true queen never lies. For a brief second, she looks away, clearly embarrassed by the situation. She drops to one knee, swearing to follow her new master for the next year. He just grins, glad she didn't waste his time with hesitation. Then he turns his attention to Dramuth. If the star has a master, who do you serve? The serpent is paralyzed with fear. One look from him and she's trembling. He barks an order, telling the beast to bow her head immediately. The system pings again. Quest cleared. Reward? A unique result that changes the game. Somewhere else, a mysterious figure is staring into the dark, and they look dangerous. Word reaches the throne room. Isabella has infiltrated the sanctuary with nothing but a lowly slave. The king is furious, ordering every soldier to hunt them down. Outside, the harsh desert sun beats down on the massive spires of the city. Over at a nearby coffee shop, a group of players is whispering. They're debating if the legend known as Randolph is actually the ghost. Now that he's back, they want to make a move. But how? They've been hunting this guy for years and always come up empty-handed. One of them suggests using the auction house as a lure. The lead player considers it a perfect trap to catch a ghost. They put a plan in motion, listing a rare item rigged with a tracking talisman. It's a classic rookie killer trap, but would a legendary veteran like the ghost really fall for something so obvious? She brushes off their doubts with a smirk. To her, he's just another man, and she's certain he won't be able to resist her bait. They all reach for their phones, ready to call in the reinforcements for the ambush. They think they're hot stuff, way better than the losers who got wiped out. But then, the rankings shift. The massacre privilege? It just got revoked. He sees those 230 points and freezes. What kind of class is even possible? And that's where we leave it. Our hero is locked out of the secret auction, while shadows close in. Let's dive in. Player Massacre is standing over a total bloodbath. Holding a head, he vows to kill everyone at the top as a system alert chimes. Since they cleared it first, they score a reward and a teleportation book for the journey. Right then, the system confirms he earned enough experience points to finally level up. Leveling is getting slower, but it gives more stats. Those stats aren't the main priority today. With his arms crossed, he starts checking out the loot he just snagged. Isabella watches him stretch, confused, until he reveals he just scored the Cloak of Shadows. Suddenly, a massive blast of energy rocks the area as the guardian Dramuth watches from afar. A group of shadowy assassins starts creeping toward the sanctuary from the dark. The serpent warns that intruders are coming, likely the queen's specialized pursuit team looking for them. Now, pay attention here. He's about to make a move that makes no sense. Why would they even fight alongside that giant creature? She is shocked he wants to abandon the guardian. He leaps away, shouting that he's relying on Great Dramuth's help while the serpent looks totally panicked. Soldiers scream, and he questions if he should go alone. Running together, he explains that if they get pinned down here, there is no way out. Since the guardian is stuck, they have to move on alone. He knows the desert gate is their only shot, but the real trouble is still closing in fast. Seeing the gate, she thinks they can just walk through and escape. He warns her that activation will take 12 full hours. With the guardian distracting them, he needs to log out and check the real world. He asks her to keep his character safe while he is gone. Gripping her sword, she stands guard on the parapet, promising to protect his physical body. The system starts the log out, and he wakes up back in his own bed. Sitting up, He admits that coming back to his human body feels totally weird. He checks his phone, but luckily, no monster alerts have hit the news yet. He needs to stay grounded in reality to prepare for the future. Look at this, a text from his ex just popped up. The scene shifts to a sunny cafe where a woman is screaming at her boyfriend. Employees watch as she hangs up, telling the guy to never call her again. She calls him annoying, remembering how her ex used to actually listen to her problems. She sips, feeling regret. She spots him and waves him over, but he just asks what she wants. He tells her to get to the point because he has zero time to waste. She smiles, liking that he still comes whenever she calls. She admits she regrets the breakup and asks if he misses her. He ignores the drama, orders from the menu, then stands up to leave immediately. She clings to him, begging him to stay. Does her boyfriend know they are meeting? He walks away, feeling Randolph's power surging inside his body. Her boyfriend suddenly appears with a knife, calling him a pervert and a jerk. He vows to kill him for ignoring him. The girl flinches, but he catches the knife blade with his bare hands effortlessly. The man grabs her hair, demanding to know what he is. Trust me, you wouldn't want to be that guy right now. All right, you and I are about to witness our main character's growth. Feeling his new strength, he tosses the thug aside and asks the girl if she is okay. She thanks him for saving her life, admitting she doesn't even know how she could ever pay him back. He stares at her, trying to place the face. Then it clicks, she is the exact same woman he saved before. He mentions she looks familiar, then turns to walk away. But the man charges back, screaming and calling him arrogant. With a lightning-fast dodge, he strikes back. He grabs the man's head, ready to end this fight right now. Slamming his face down, he knocks him out cold with a single blow. The girl stands there in total shock, unable to believe the raw power she just witnessed. He stays low in a combat stance, ready for anything. Above them, they are just two people on a sidewalk next to a car. Suddenly, a police officer arrives and tells him he needs to go to the station. Both of them are being brought in for assault. Clutching his head, he says he has zero time for this. She steps in, asking the officer if he will take responsibility if things go south. Introducing herself as a reporter, she tells the officers to stop hassling him immediately. The officer looks stunned when she threatens to run a news report on their behavior. They recognize her as the reporter who saved a child. Feeling the heat, the officer finally backs off and lets them go. With a warm smile, she thanks him for his help. Handing over her card, she explains that she exclusively covers Dimensional Warriors. She goes on to explain that Dimensional Warrior is the name given to those brave enough to hunt monsters. Watch this carefully. He notices few people actually use the game's name directly. His ex-girlfriend suddenly comes running, frantically asking if he is okay or if he got hurt in the brawl. He brushes her hand off, says he's fine, and walks away. Seeing him pull out his phone makes his ex fume with jealousy. The reporter saves his contact, calling his name cool before inviting him for coffee the very next day. His ex stands there frozen, fuming that he completely ignored her. She can't believe he's moving on so easily. Leaving them behind, the reporter heads down the sidewalk while checking her phone. Walking through the city, she keeps an eye on her notifications until a call finally comes through. She tells them to stop calling, only to find out she has a brand new assignment to cover. While crossing the street, she learns she needs to interview player Gracia, who just finished slaying a massive monster elsewhere. Flying high above the city, Gracia prepares for his trip to Korea. Meanwhile, back at the gate, soldiers' bodies are littered across the ground, her mouth bleeding. Isabella takes a ragged breath after the brutal fight. Exhausted from the struggle, she and Randolph wait among the dead for the gate to finish its activation. Daggers drawn, she prepares to fight. The soldiers demand she hand over the slave and return to them in silence. Calling them idiots, she refuses to follow their orders. The soldiers scream to kill the traitor and charge forward. Surrounded by enemies, she stands her ground, ready to face every single adversary on her own. Her head drops from sheer exhaustion. Suddenly, the gate begins to glow with a brilliant blue light. With the portal active, the soldiers are totally stunned by what is happening. You and I both knew he'd show up. Just as she collapses from exhaustion, he appears and catches her. With a smile, he tells her she did a great job and that his communication with the stars is finally complete. The enemy leader orders the traitor's execution, but our main character is ready to fulfill his promise and protect her. Clenching his fist, he unleashes a wave of power. The system alerts him he only has 41 seconds of this skill remaining. Soldiers scream in agony as they are swallowed by an explosion of light. Using his cloak, he declares that this is their moment of freedom. Watching him, she realizes this is the true power of a star seeker. He smiles and says he won't stop her if she wants to leave. But she looks up with total determination and refuses. A smile spreads across her face, happy with her choice to follow him. She tells him she will stay by his side as they enter the portal. The system removes the curse and begins the warp to the central continent. Arriving in a brand new city, the system welcomes them to the golden city of Arcana. A notification warns that Arcana is a place of extreme materialism. On the street, people trade gold and valuable treasures everywhere. Inside a carriage, a wealthy man watches the city pass by from his window. You and I just witnessed a brand new chapter start. Walking through town, he worries about gold, but she reveals a huge bag of it. Alright, you and I are about to see how this guy turns a tiny bag of gold into a fortune. Back in the desert, 300 coins could buy 10 whole slaves. But here, bread costs 50 coins? She is panicking, but he just smiles and says money is everywhere. He snaps his fingers and points at a massive casino. She is completely flushed and confused by his crazy plan. Standing outside, he is looking confident with his arms crossed. He tells her not to worry, because he is lucky. In this city of sin, there is only one law. When money rules the world, gold coins decide everything. At night, the Hudson Casino becomes the glowing center of the entire city. The manager blocks their way with a stern look. He warns that entering requires a deposit of 10,000 gold. She whispers that they only have 100 gold coins left after buying clothes. Since they are broke, the manager tells them to move. But he offers an item as collateral instead. He pulls out the queen's tear. The manager starts stuttering, completely shocked to see such a rare treasure. Suddenly, they are invited to the VIP room. She asks what he gave up, and he says the tear. With a smile, he says it is worth at least 1 million gold. It is just a deposit, so he will definitely get it back. Now watch this. The roulette wheel spins, deciding every player's fate. The ball stops, and the roulette determines his massive win. Players are stunned, calling him the absolute god of gambling. With his chips piled high, he is up to 1,400,000. He knows this winning streak is unstoppable. She's screaming that they're rich, but he quickly corrects her. The manager pays out but bans him instantly. Other players are already trying to copy his bets. The owner arrives, and the manager looks relieved. Surrounded by guards, the boss asks him to leave the casino. Isabella looks furious, already preparing herself for a potential fight. He agrees to go, but only if they meet one condition. The manager tells him to just leave quietly. You and I both know he is not leaving. He says he is not the one who wants to talk. Using the observer's hand, he prepares his power and confirms that the tear is a genuine and incredibly rare treasure. As a relic of the Queen's Knights, getting a tear like this is nearly impossible. He sighs, admitting they searched for it for years. Then an employee tells him he has a visitor. He's stunned to find out the man who left the talisman is actually here to see him. He realizes this guy knew he would want it. From above, they sit facing each other on sofas as he silently waits for the owner to arrive. The owner walks in, looking surprised that the man is such a commoner. The boss asks what he meant, and he just takes a sip and says he was being literal. He asks if the owner wants the talisman. The boss smiles, having heard about his collection hobby. He sips his coffee and offers to sell. The boss offers 2 million gold, which is very generous. She can't believe her ears. 2 million gold for a single talisman? He crosses his arms and demands 20 million gold instead. That is enough to buy a mansion. It might not be worth it to some, but for the owner, this isn't just a hobby. He says the item is the key to joining the council. The boss is completely speechless now. He explains that the talisman is a minimum requirement to reach that goal. The owner's face drops when he hears the name of his fiancée, the noble Serengeti. She was a viscount's only daughter and a high-ranking noble. Known as the White Knight, she joined the expedition where she lost her legs to the Demon King. Back then, he thought it was just lore. But after his character died, things started making sense. Sitting in the bath, he realized NPCs could actually be players. He remembers what Serengeti told him before. He got the necklace but never understood what it really was. He wonders if this was part of the setup. In the original story, the character had no fiancé. He finally understands that someone manipulated an NPC to change the entire narrative. The owner is baffled. Stick with me, because you and I are about to uncover the shocking truth behind this mystery. Alright, you and I are about to dive into a story where the stars whisper secrets about a saint, even if he didn't know the truth. With a confident smile, he offers to help the man get exactly what he has been looking for. He warns that the star only helps those who speak the absolute truth. Suddenly, the owner looks completely stunned. The casino owner hesitates, wondering if he should actually share his life story. He suspects this man might be a hunter in disguise. Hunters are non-player characters who hunt down and execute players. Because of this, most players keep their identities a secret. Still, he believed Hudson would accept his offer. Serengeti was far more than just a typical non-player character. Looking at the locket, Serengeti's image flickers inside. With a heavy sigh, the owner agrees to tell his story. He begins his tale, explaining that everything started with the tragic and complicated history of his own fiancée. He is shocked that 8 heroes were mentioned. The owner confirms that Wilhelm led the expedition with 8 legendary companions. Now pay attention, the expedition failed because of a betrayal. Do we even know who those 8 heroes really were? One of those legendary heroes was Gracia, who was second in power only to Wilhelm himself. In the newspaper, everyone wonders about the man riding the monster. Gracia prepares to meet with the famous Korean reporter. His assistant warns him the government wants him to stay, but Gracia needs to confirm that man's identity personally. With a faint smile, he realizes it might be the old friend he has been searching for all this time. Back in the present, he listens closely to the owner's story. Outside, a sunny city stands tall under clear blue skies. Sitting down to eat, he looks visibly annoyed by everything. When she asks if the meat is bad, he quickly denies it. He remembers spending the entire night listening to the owner's story. Looking at the menu, he asks if this place is too expensive. She smiles and tells him it is nothing compared to the incredible help he has provided. Flustered by the compliment, he stares back, totally speechless. Suddenly, he spots a familiar face in the back of the restaurant. He sees his ex-girlfriend with her new boyfriend. He remembers all those photos she still has not bothered to delete yet. She is in total shock, but he makes it clear he no longer cares about her or her new man anymore. Ignoring their dramatic presence, he simply continues to eat his meat as if they are not even there. The new boyfriend approaches, looking furious. He loudly accuses him of being a blatant and pathetic stalker. The loud argument starts drawing a crowd. He tells the guy to stop acting like such a massive loser. That smile? She is clearly loving the drama you and I are watching. Pointing a finger, the boyfriend threatens to kill him. Suddenly, the reporter stands up and demands some respect. She explains she reserved this whole restaurant and tells him his behavior is absolutely unacceptable. He slams a wad of cash onto the table, offering to pay double if they leave. The crumpled money rains down on the reporter. Without hesitation, she delivers a sharp blow to the man's face, shattering his glasses instantly. She calls him a crazy bastard for his actions. Enraged and insulted, he claims she is the one who hit first. Raising his hand, he prepares for a strike. She closes her eyes tightly, bracing herself for the impact. Instead, he steps in and lands a solid blow. He warns the man that he has officially crossed the line. His eyes glow with rage as he realizes he has been completely humiliated right in front of his new girlfriend. Knocking him to the ground, he pins the guy down, reminding him that he was already warned to stop. The boyfriend wonders how he is this strong. Desperate, the ex screams for him to get off the floor immediately. Holding his head, he suggests they take this conversation outside and settle it once and for all. Burning with hatred, the man is consumed by the shame of being embarrassed in front of everyone. He pulls an object from his pocket and warns that the protagonist messed with the wrong person. A blinding light fills the restaurant. A sudden flash of energy hits him directly, sending him flying backward through the air. Everyone is in total shock, wondering what that light was and what is happening to the restaurant. With a powerful strike, he reveals his warrior form and hurls his opponent across the room. His face is a mask of pure rage as he dares the man to speak to him again. He launches a brutal attack, landing a heavy blow right to his enemy's chest. They both crash down. Lying there, he realizes his opponent is actually another player. But why does he seem so totally unaffected? He realizes the man is a lancer, but he is only level 4. Trust me, you and I are going to want to see how this fight ends. Alright. You and I are diving into a world where leveling up is a literal nightmare. More talents make you strong but slow down your growth. Our guy? He has 0 talent, so he levels up at lightning speed. He has never been in a real fight. After barely surviving on pure luck, he somehow unlocked the Lancer class. He took his logout reward and walked away. He knew not everyone was built for this, and adapting to that world was just too hard. His ex-girlfriend drags her new man away, complaining that he ruined the entire vibe. She warns him to never show his face near her again, leaving him standing there in the cold. Crushed on the pavement, he realizes his opponent is basically a dead man walking. A reporter rushes over, asking if he is all right. She wants to call the police, but he just tells her to drop it. With a strange glint in his eyes, he says it is fine. He just wants to eat. But suddenly, a massive earthquake hits, rattling the entire building and the street outside. He feels the floor vibrate and knows exactly what is coming. Seconds later, the ground beneath the restaurant completely shatters into pieces. A massive beast erupts from the earth, immediately tearing into the terrified people inside the restaurant. He covers her mouth, whispering for her to stay silent. All around them, people are panicking, trying to escape this giant nightmare. Watching the beast closely, he notices something weird. The monster is not actually hunting the people. It only eats the dead and will not strike unless provoked. But in the distance, that idiot from earlier is still screaming his head off. His ex is desperate now, begging her boyfriend to step up and do something heroic. Now pay attention here, because this idiot is about to make the absolute worst mistake of his entire life. He lunges forward, striking the beast with his glowing spear. Bloody and beaten, he actually thinks he took it down in one hit. With his hands glowing with power, he starts believing he is truly unstoppable. He brags about killing every monster in his path. The crowd starts cheering, calling him a true hero from another dimension. He smirks, thinking there was never anything to fear. But our main character is dead serious, telling the girl to run. He warns her to stay away from that loudmouth. Suddenly, a thick red mist rolls in, swallowing the entire street. Everything goes dark, and he cannot see a foot in front of him. Then, a massive shadow hand reaches out. Suddenly, the hand clamps over his eyes. He has no idea what is happening. In the pitch black, a single red eye flares up. A terrifying voice growls, asking who is responsible for this. It is furious, demanding to know who murdered its children. The beast grabs his head, flooding his body with dark, overwhelming energy. It whispers a single command for everyone to die. The man starts choking, wondering what is happening to his body. He looks around frantically, but the red mist has made it impossible to see a thing. He is shocked to see his spear just floating in the air. The beast fixes its glowing eye on him. The system sends a warning. The monster's blood has triggered a massive hallucination. Out of nowhere, an invisible force strikes him. Blood sprays everywhere, soaking the entire floor in red. You and I are seeing the same thing, right? This is a total bloodbath. Everyone is just gone. The monster stares the man down, telling him he never should have interfered. Gripping his sword, he demands the creature show itself. The beast just peels back its lips into a terrifying, toothy grin. It starts laughing as it steps out of the shadows. Those glowing red eyes are fixed right on him. The monster points a finger at him, whispering that he looks absolutely delicious. He readies himself for a suicide mission. The reporter is screaming his name, paralyzed by pure fear. She keeps shouting into the mist, searching for him in the dark. But she is alone, and no answer comes. He is barely dodging these strikes, fighting back with every ounce of his strength. He realizes the mist is what allowed this monster to transform. This fight just got 10 times harder. If he did not know the attack patterns, he would be ground meat by now. The monster cannot believe he is dodging. The beast realizes its enemy is moving like he can see the future. He keeps dodging with a look of pure focus. The monster mocks him, saying it is useless. But he leaps into the air, ready to deliver a crushing blow. His eyes glow as he predicts exactly where the monster is going to move next. The creature fires a massive blast of blood. He grips his sword tight, bracing himself to dodge it. And trust me, you and I really do not want to see what happens if that toxic blood actually touches him. You and I are about to watch one hell of a fight. A sharp stake erupts, but he narrowly dodges it. Perched on a massive tentacle, he tracks the monster from a distance. Impressed by the movement, the beast praises his incredible dodging skills. With a smirk, the creature mocks him, saying evasion is useless without an actual attack. He tells the monster not to worry about that. Talisman in hand, he promises a direct hit is coming soon. The system warns his stats are too low as he tries to equip the new boots. Next, he puts on the armor and helmet. Fully geared up, he gets ready to launch a high-power strike. He regrets using the item he promised to save. But these epic boots reduce the stat requirements by 20%. Activating swiftness, he lunges forward to keep his word. He dodges a tail swipe, readying his sword for the next move. With focused eyes, he tracks exactly where the creature will move next. He leaps back to dodge another strike, cracking the floor as he lands. He's already bracing himself to counter. Lunging forward, he spins through the air, glowing with an intense golden light. He's about to hit it with everything he's got. He lands a perfect, precise strike right into the creature's eye. Enraged, the monster screams at him as sharp spikes erupt from its body, ready to shred him. His blade moves in a blur, cutting through the spikes with surgical precision. He doesn't stop, slicing everything that comes near him. He stays focused, but the giant monster lands a heavy hit, sending him flying backward. The impact is brutal as he's slammed hard against the stone wall. Gritting his teeth, he forces himself up despite the agony. With sword in hand, he refuses to back down. Now watch this part, the set bonus finally activates. Wings sprout from his back as he prepares to fly. But the monster isn't finished yet, claiming it still has more tricks to show him. With a deafening roar, it unleashes a blood tornado. He recognizes this, it's the final attack pattern. He braces for impact, knowing he just has to survive this. Amidst the chaos, he dodges every drop of blood. The monster roars that he can't escape, calling him a rat as it continues the relentless assault. Inside that storm, he's completely surrounded by a thick, dark red energy. That's when the armor synergy kicks in. The monster is shocked to see the mist blocked by powerful wind. Still wearing the armor, he takes a deep breath, trying to recover from the grueling fight. Having exhausted its patterns, the monster falls into a daze. He charges in, knowing this is his only opening. The monster begs him to wait, but it's too late. His blade pierces right through its skull. He grips the sword tight, shoving it deeper to finish the job for good. Looking through his bloodied visor, he tells the beast he's burying the blade between its eyes. The system confirms the kill. Surprised, the young woman asks if it's all over, completely unable to process the entire situation. She turns and sees a figure in dark red armor, sporting a long white cape. Let's pause. We've seen this hero before. A hood hides his face as she recalls him saving her in the past. She runs after him, asking if he remembers her. He warns her that Miss Hana is safe now. Then, his cape activates. She reaches out, but he vanishes instantly. Startled, she's left standing there, completely lost for words. Surrounded by destruction, she stands alone, feeling confused by the sudden silence. Suddenly, a footstep hits the ground. She turns as a new face calls out her name. He arrives with a smile, saying he finally found her after they were separated in the mess. He asks if she's okay, and she quietly nods. But looking around, she can't shake a lingering concern. He admits he's glad she's safe, mentioning that he never expected things to get this crazy. She asks if he's hurt while he checks his hand. He says it's just monster blood, but then notices his bloody nails. It's strange, his clothes are spotless, yet his fingernails are dripping with blood. Watching his calm reaction, she asks if he knew about the monster. He pauses before giving his answer. He claims he was just talking nonsense, saying he's actually terrified of things like that. You and I aren't buying his story for a second. Alright, you and I are about to see if her suspicion leads to the man who saved her. The next day, bright sun fills the sky, but peace is short-lived. Soon, another dimensional war erupts right outside a city building. Warriors warn that these strikes are just beginning, demanding the government take action immediately. Streets are empty, as pure anxiety keeps everyone locked inside. On TV, news reports show a public that is absolutely livid with the government's response. Behind closed doors, a group gathers to debate the current state of chaos. One man notes that while the first invasion felt calm, this one is pure madness. To some, the last war was just a story, but these attacks make no sense. He spots a girl on her phone, mentioning how the government tried to play it cool back when things seemed totally illogical. Now, he stresses that everyone knows these invasions are the new reality. A leader declares it's finally time to launch their player alliance heroes. They need to recruit top talent before other alliances snatch them up. Staring at a sword's image, he admits it's unclear, but the man could be Randolph. One member wonders how a level 4 or 5 player can afford such high-end gear. Someone suggests a talisman is involved. But regardless, they need a guy like him. The leader points out he appeared just as Phantom vanished, making Randolph their prime target. Pay attention here, they refuse to trust other alliances and must recruit him. With a serious look, he says this is the only way to stop the next rift. The scene shifts to a man looking impatient as he approaches his target. One shouts in shock, asking if he actually used the Fairy Queen's tears. The annoyed man wonders why it wasn't handed over. He snaps back, reminding him he promised to help, not give away priceless treasures. He claims his goals don't require talismans, and he ditched the item to stop anyone from clinging to a false hope. The suspicious man asks if another way exists, while the other senses his deep distrust. With a grin, he tells him to follow along if he wants to believe. The three head into the dark toward the unknown. The path clears, finally revealing the hidden entrance to the sewer dungeon. He explains that to fix this trust issue, he needs a waypoint in Arcana. Using a teleportation book is easy, but the low exploration rate is a pain. Then, the woman asks if he's seriously entering this dungeon with only 3 people. It's dangerous. The man screams that the boss monster rat needs at least 6 level 8 players. Ignoring them, Randolph steps forward, his boots clicking loudly on the ground. Trust me, you'll want to see this. The giant spiked mutant rat appears, and it looks absolutely terrifying right now. The rat's eyes glow a deep red. This is it, the battle begins now. A massive paw slams down, shattering the floor. A green explosion of power ripples through the entire area. The 3 barely dodge the blast as the man warns about the rat's insane speed. The standard plan is to corner it with 6 people. Seeing that red eye, he questions their reckless entry. Without warning, Randolph calls Isabella to strike. With the signal given, she charges ahead. All he can do is watch her move with terrifying speed. Randolph stands calm, claiming patterns matter way more than raw speed ever could. Isabella's combat skills are just on another level. The mustached man is left speechless, watching the absolute destruction. Next up is Hudson, who looks completely terrified by the chaos unfolding around him. Randolph promises to keep his word, telling him to stop doubting. If he says it works, it works. Hudson stares in awe, stunned. Back at HQ, a man tells his captain the cameras show absolutely nothing. Nobody knows a thing. The captain feels like they're being haunted by some kind of ghost. Lost in thought, the captain refuses to visit a man who's clearly lost his mind. A patient with no arms is shown, driven mad by his trauma. Despair is written all over his face. On the move, they discuss Kim Hana. One suggests waiting for her right at the station entrance. Whatever you do, don't provoke her. Gracia, the world's strongest player, is in Korea for an exclusive one-on-one interview with Kim Hana. Cameras flash everywhere. With a serious gaze, the blonde man introduces himself as Gracia. That's where we leave it. Kim Hana introduces herself, and things are getting real. Stick with me, you and I are about to see if the captain can figure out why Gracia would ever interview a lowly reporter. One wrong move could shatter their alliance, making him realize the danger is closer than he ever thought. Bleeding on the cold ground, the man gasps, asking if this is really the end. Fighting between players is strictly forbidden, yet here they are. Gracia gave the order to prepare for invasion, and rules? They just don't matter anymore. He screams in rage. If Gracia finds out, it'll be the end for all of them. The attacker sneers, plunging the blade deep. He tells his victim to beg Gracia for salvation. Suddenly, a dark silhouette rises from the earth. As the rankings update, the figure is revealed. Those accumulated points explain everything. Randolph is the one and only Phantom. Phantom is heading for the main challenge. He swears he'll track him down soon. He vows to kill Phantom with his own hands. The scene shifts to a vast, sun-drenched sky. A massive, multi-headed beast suddenly emerges. Now pay attention, the impact is huge, leaving two small figures standing before a massive cloud of dust. Randolph just smiles. Registering this dungeon was his only real goal all along. The monster lies defeated as the three victors watch. Proudly, Randolph holds up the glowing core he just ripped away. It's a mutant rat core, perfect for evolving creatures or crafting gear. This material will speed up Hydreigon's evolution significantly. After the fight, he checks if Hudson handled the casino, and the answer is indeed yes. Losing the casino hurts, but Hudson knows the alliance with Serengeti is worth the sacrifice. He chooses to follow the Saint, knowing that place was never left truly unguarded. Isabella hunted that monster solo. She's incredible, almost like she can see everything. Randolph is an extraordinary man, a chance he can't let slip away. He confirms his thoughts immediately. With a grin, Randolph promises her that money will never be a problem for her again. He mentions a masterpiece that will finally fulfill her wish. It's the Spiritual Tower, the location where Main Quest 3 officially begins. Hudson looks around in awe, but all he sees is a completely ordinary forest. You and I know better. Randolph warns him this is no normal forest. He looks up, revealing this is the entrance where the legendary spiritual tree grows. A spirit was born from this tree, capable of opening a path to the spirit realm. They must enter this path to reach the tower. Thoughtfully, he touches the ancient trunk. The tree cracks, showing it died long ago. With the woods fading, he asks when a spirit last lived here. He draws his sword. It's not the ideal method, but he has no other choice left. Panicked, the man asks what he's doing. Randolph grips the gleaming blade with total focus. He strikes with everything he's got. Startled, the man and woman watch in total shock as the blade swings through the air. With one devastating blow, his sword slices the massive tree right in half. The tree crashes down, leaving a broken stump and a group of stunned survivors. Hudson asks if he can really just cut it down, but Randolph stays silent. Terrified, Hudson remembers that tree was their only entrance to the tower. Suddenly, something is launched at high speed, leaving a trail of intense light. The woman deflects the attack to protect Hudson, but still takes a hit. An archer looks on, impressed. A gray-skinned man, a level 9 Great Dryad, emerges from the shadows. Shocked, they can hardly believe it. There's no escape. The Dryad thought they were just lost travelers and tried to let them pass. Furious, he accuses the humans of destroying the sacred spiritual tree. Looking around, the woman realizes there are over 50 creatures. She thinks they have no hope if they all attack, so she must save the saint. Randolph steps forward, taking full responsibility for cutting down the tree. The Dryad is livid, calling him insane for intentionally drawing them out like this. Calmly, Randolph tells him to come down. He has something serious to discuss. Trust me, you and I need to see if he saves this forest. All right, you and I are diving into a story where a dying forest's only hope is a guy with a sword and a lot of guts. Randolph stands his ground, shocking the Dryad with a wild question. He reminds the spirit that the forest is rotting. Without a single new soul born here, it is all over soon. Then comes the proposal. Open the doors to the spiritual tower, and he will bring back the life this forest needs. The Dryad just laughs. He scoffs at the idea of an inferior human entering the sacred tower of the Chosen Ones. It is impossible, he claims. It requires legendary talent, endless quests, and luck that nobody actually has. Only a handful have ever made it inside, and a common player at Randolph's level? Forget it. But Randolph does not care. He orders the spirit to open that door. He is going to save this forest by force, tapping into his hidden nature affinity right now. The Dryad turns dead serious, asking if he is for real. But the others? They are furious, screaming that he is a liar. They swear to kill him before he touches their tree. The mob is closing in, shouting for his head right now. The Dryad watches in total silence while the archers join the chant, ready to let their arrows fly. Suddenly, a hand goes up. Stop. The attack freezes mid-air, leaving the other spirits confused and staring at each other. The Dryad warns Randolph to keep his promise, staring him down with absolute seriousness. Randolph is not sweating it. He always delivers. But the Dryad is blunt, he expects failure and is ready to kill him the moment he trips up. Follow me, the spirit commands. He leads the way into the deep woods with the group following close behind. They reach a sunlit clearing where a pile of ancient stones sits, glowing with a brilliant, blinding light. Now here is the dark truth you and I need to see. Opening this gate requires the corpse of a stone spirit. Fail, and you become nothing more than fertilizer for these dying trees. Randolph just asks about the prize for winning. The Dryad promises a reward beyond anything he has ever seen. Randolph smiles at the new mission. Save the forest? This is going to be one hell of a battle. The Dryad channels his power. With a massive burst of energy, he announces that the portal is opening. An explosion of golden light erupts, completely transforming the entire world around them. Shadows emerge within the glow. Everyone shields their eyes from the overwhelming intensity. The tower gate is finally here, and only the invited can enter. Hudson looks around, totally stunned by the location they have landed in. Randolph explains the situation. They are inside the portal, but the tower itself requires special permission. The man is confused. Who gives that permission? But before he can ask, he sees something unexpected. Okay, I know what you are thinking. A tiny golden flame spirit? Yeah, it is surprisingly cute. Randolph watches it closely, gauging its power. The little spirit seems to stop and think, reflecting on its next move. Eyes glowing green, Randolph activates his druid affinity, feeling the massive energy of the tower vibrating around them. Are you friends? The spirit asks. Randolph does not hesitate, he tells it they are totally trustworthy. It decides to let them in, but there is a catch. They have to pass through the tower completely alone. Isabella vows to return soon as she vanishes. Then, the man screams his own body is starting to disappear. The spirit tells the frightened man to relax. Time works differently here, so he can ascend without any worries. Good luck, it whispers, before dissolving into a sea of shimmering golden light. Main Mission 3, climb the tower. The better you do, the bigger the prize. Suddenly, a dark purple door appears, oozing bad vibes. Randolph stares at the gate. Something about this spirit tower feels strangely familiar to him. But what kind of gate is this? He is intrigued by the weird shape. These doors change based on your element. Hudson faced the gate of wind, while Isabella entered the gate of wind. Randolph is confused, he has never seen a portal like this. Maybe it is because he holds every single affinity at once? The face on the purple gate opens its eyes, staring at Randolph with a terrifying intensity. He realizes it. This gate holds the power of every element, even elements that should never exist together. He thought it was the void at first, but it is way more than that. This is chaos. As the gate of chaos reveals itself, a massive blast of purple light strikes him down. A voice echoes through the air. You have opened a gate that has never been seen before. It warns that if chaos eats him, he is never coming back. But Randolph just keeps walking forward with iron resolve. So what do you and I take from this? Randolph is in deep. He played Pangea for 5 years. But this is totally new territory. Alright, you and I are diving into a world where being the best player is only the beginning. This game's difficulty is straight up insane. But that's exactly what pushes him to his absolute limits. He smirks, realizing this is why he loves Pangea. Sword in hand, he remembers the gate of chaos finally being pried open. With fire in his eyes, he vows to be the very first person to clear this challenge as well. Suddenly, white hair whips in the wind. A man named Wilhelm appears, his sharp gaze cutting right through the air. Randolph is stunned. He recognizes Wilhelm and can't believe this man is his trial. Wilhelm swings, unleashing a flash of golden light. Randolph barely manages to dodge the devastating strike. The impact is brutal. He coughs up blood as Wilhelm relentlessly presses the attack again. He doesn't know why Wilhelm is here. But beating the number 1 is all that matters. To survive, he must win. Now, pay attention here. He's about to face an enemy that looks absolutely unbeatable, wrapped in a terrifying aura. Randolph screams in rage, cursing this crazy game while taking a massive hit. He quickly equips new armor and the boots of Hermes. Even after taking a hit, the wound isn't very deep. Eyes locked on his rival, he starts analyzing every physical movement. His gear abilities activate. Trading blows up close, Randolph realizes just how much he and Wilhelm actually look alike. A massive impact sends Wilhelm flying backward, soaring through the air like a rag doll. Randolph's strike shatters the ground. He doesn't let up for a second, keeping his eyes glued to his target. Our hero leaps, bringing his sword down with force. Wilhelm retreats instantly, barely avoiding the follow-up strike. Moving fast, he lands a perfect kick right to Wilhelm's face. He stays alert, tracking every twitch. Then Wilhelm speaks, asking if he's just chasing after some long-lost glory. Advancing forward, he shouts that it's impossible. With a sharp hand gesture, he prepares his next big move. The protagonist strikes, demanding to know what he means. Wilhelm's eyes burn with fury as the battle peaks. Randolph lands another punch, calling his opponent a fake. Wilhelm collapses, bleeding out on the cold ground. Standing over his fallen rival, he maintains the posture of a winner. He downs a health potion to recover fast. The red liquid surges through him, fueling his body for what's next. As he chugs the potion, his vitality starts spiking back to the max. He's glad he stocked up with that casino money. Wilhelm just watches him, his expression a mix of shock and grit. Looking back, he'd be in serious trouble if he hadn't bought all these healing supplies. Cut to a massive skyscraper gleaming under the blazing sun. And just like that, the interview wraps up. The interviewer smiles, mentioning he must be exhausted after such a long journey. She addresses Mr. Gracia with respect. He stays humble but admits he has one very secret question to ask. The interviewer is curious. Gracia confirms it is a very simple matter. She pulls up an article about the Monster Assembler by Kim Hana. Gracia demands every single detail she knows about this man. Let's pause. Look at that carnage, a literal graveyard of defeated enemies. Randolph stands in the center of the room, surrounded by corpses. He's totally drained but refuses to fall. 100 enemies defeated. He only survived because of that mountain of healing potions. He tosses the empty vial, waiting for the clear message. Walking forward, he reaches Wilhelm's lifeless body. Suddenly, he notices every single body in the room is starting to vanish. Panic sets in as a toothy creature appears above him. A being called Chaos speaks, questioning if he's even human. He glares at the spirit of Chaos, asking if the tower is finally cleared. Chaos just laughs, mocking him. A swarm of tiny spirits join in, laughing at Randolph's pathetic assumption. He's stunned. The spirits tell him to stop dreaming because he's nowhere near finished. The real challenge hasn't even started yet. Staring at the light barrier, he realizes the true nightmare is beginning. Chaos taunts him, asking if he really thinks he can clear this place without facing real enemies. Beyond that barrier, thousands of monsters just like those are waiting. Chaos declares that nobody will ever clear this tower. Trust me, you're going to want to see if he takes that deal in the next part. Alright, you and I are about to see our hero get offered a legendary secret skill contract. Staring at the glowing red sphere, it's clear the tower grants rewards based on the trial you choose. If he beats the trial of wind, he'll snag a rare wind spirit egg contract. Now, heading into the chaos trial, he's banking on a chaos spirit egg as his final prize. To him, spirit eggs are legendary tier, especially chaos ones, even if spirits are already begging him for contracts. But he starts wondering what's actually behind that door. Could it be something even bigger than a chaos egg? Stepping into the light, a voice calls him a fool, warning that someone is going to pay for this. They mock him, saying thousands of chaos illusions wait ahead, and there's no way he can fight them all. It'll be tough with no potions left, but he's already memorized every single one of their attack patterns. Suddenly, he sees the figures and shouts that he doesn't need potions or any cheap tricks anymore. Repeating the patterns he's seen 1,000 times, he declares he's not afraid to clear this entire tower. The shadowy creature looks confused as he prepares for action. Pay attention here. A dark smile emerges, admitting it didn't expect such a challenge for such a ridiculous reason. A massive light bursts from the floor as the voice says it loves fools like him. Suddenly, the young man is transported to a golden place full of stars, a truly chaotic sight. Looking around, he asks himself, "Where the hell am I now?" After finishing the main quest, a message confirms he's reached the very top of the tower. A glowing creature appears, congratulating the fool for ascending and letting him know his friends are still alive. Hearing that, he stays silent, slowly absorbing everything that just happened. He wonders if all that talk about the real trial finally starting was just a bunch of lies. Aiming his weapon, he realizes these chaos spirits are masters of deception who love to mess with people. Staring at the glowing door, he finally understands the gap between chaos minds and others. Taking the offer, he reaches out as the creature promises a reward is waiting. Energy wraps around his hand, confirming the power of the Tower of Chaos has finally been unleashed. He figures if the trial ends without any more secrets, that Chaos Egg will be his main reward. Grabbing the sphere, he gets the confirmation. He's finally obtained the legendary Chaos Spirit Egg. Suddenly, his eyes go wide as something totally unexpected happens right in front of him. Trust me, this is where it gets crazy. Dark energy and feathers emerge, revealing a hidden celestial characteristic about his spirit. Then, another notification pops up. It says he's gained a celestial spirit egg. Holding the glowing feathered sphere, the young man looks completely stunned by this mystery prize. Lost and confused, he can only stare and ask himself what the hell is actually going on here. Details of the celestial egg appear. It's an unknown realm egg that only a celestial can ever hatch. The race is called Celestial, and since he owns the egg, it means he's actually one of them. He wonders if this is his hidden trait or just a title, but it's definitely linked to the celestial race. He asks the figure if they know anything. But the answer is simple, this is no ordinary egg. Even so, the Spirit King takes a massive interest in the egg, shocking the young man. After all, the Spirit King is the creator of Pangea. This means the egg is incredibly valuable. He stores the egg in his inventory, deciding to investigate once it hatches. Then, system alerts announce the tower is cleared. A bunch of constellations increase his rewards. He looks at the alerts, thinking about the Temple of 100 Stars. He's notified that a constellation has taken a direct interest in Dramuth's ancient sanctuary. To his surprise, those 5 arrogant and haughty beings are showing way more interest than he ever expected. In Pangea, these constellations are big players. They can hand out massive quests or boost your rewards. In the game, they live for a good story, so they absolutely loved his proof of chaos demonstration. Because of them, his reward tier is off the charts. He gets to choose 2 prizes out of 20, which is just insane luck. Isabella and Hudson show up, having also successfully cleared their way through the tower. Isabella gets a wind egg, while Hudson grabs a water spirit egg. Egg drops are random, but Isabella got 2 and promised one to the dryads. She'll hatch the wind spirit to save the forest. The dryad just watches silently. And you and I are about to see Basrock Forest finally come back to life. Alright. Stick with me because you and I are about to see what kind of elixir these dryads are handing out. When they saw the elixir, the rest of the group looked totally lost. They had no idea what it actually was. They handed the mandragora to Isabella since she was the one who gave them the egg. Talk about a major power-up. Notifications flooded the screen with rank updates and quest rewards. Meanwhile, a massive beast was pulling their carriage across the land. Randolph just unlocked Guardian Wall level 11, a crazy protective shield that holds up for a full 30 seconds. Talk about relief. He realized the Guardian Wall was the real prize, and it set his mind at ease. While logged into Pangea, that wall actually protects Park Hyunmyoung back in the real world too. The scale fragment had 72 hours left, but, honestly, he was hoping for even more time. Hudson called out to Randolph. And man, he looked dead serious about something. He thanked him for the gift, saying hatching the egg would solve all his problems. He agreed that the spirit help would make their path much smoother, so his next move was buying an incubator to get things started. After getting an invite to stop, Randolph confirmed he would be coming along without any issues. Randolph gave a satisfied smile, thanked him for the company, and they kept moving forward. They finally reached the city, taking in the rooftops under a blazing sun that made the whole place glow. Hudson pointed around, questioning their spot while following Randolph through the crowded streets. Hudson was absolutely floored when he saw the main street. He realized exactly where they were headed. He started yelling in total despair, but Randolph shut him up fast, which only made Isabella even more curious. Isabella hears they are going to Knight's Garden, and trust me, you and I can see Hudson is terrified. That is the Marquess territory. Turns out Hudson's fiancée is right there, and the poor guy is basically in a full-blown panic. Hudson couldn't figure out why they were there. He just was not ready to propose to Serengeti yet. Randolph explained he had a favor to ask Serengeti. But as they looked down the abandoned street, the scene was grim. People were collapsed everywhere in total desolation. They kept moving down the road, focused on their goal. They all gathered in the square, standing beneath a clear sky in front of a massive monument. Looking at the massive crowd, they realized some kind of memorial service was already happening. When they asked if he recognized any names engraved on the stone, he said no. But trust me, he knew exactly why those people had died. 500 names were carved there every single night who followed him on that ill-fated expedition. Watching everyone grieve, it was not a shock that he could not remember a single one of their names. To him, they were just background characters, meaningless elements of the game scenery. He had to face that reality. As he admits they are just pixels, you and I see a woman on her knees, screaming for her son Wilhelm to return. Another woman cried out for Shion, remembering how he promised he would return and not to worry. As he walked toward the stone, Isabella asked him what he was doing while everyone else was in tears. One woman's face was twisted in pure despair, shouting into the void. With tears in her eyes, she wailed in deep, unbearable pain. Suddenly, she suffered a stroke and started to collapse. He moved like lightning, catching the elderly woman before she could even hit the pavement. Randolph held her close as people started shouting that Grandma May had just fainted. He looked up and asked Isabella if she was okay. He was looking out for his companion. He picked her up, deciding to rush her to the first aid station. Arriving at the Goddess Church station, he noticed one man standing out among all the wounded. Hudson noted the crowd of patients, but he could tell something else was very wrong. The young man saw the station was way understaffed, which was weird for such an important city. Hudson thought it looked like a major management disaster. Just then, a churchman approached with a smile, asking if they were the outsiders who had brought Sister May in. Looking at the woman, he said they were very kind to help, even if it was not strictly necessary. Hudson nodded in agreement, but he quickly asked if something was up after seeing the churchman's strange expression. The man then asked for donations to keep the station running. He asked for 50 gold coins. Randolph immediately wondered if they were actually charging illegal medical fees. The temple man mentioned the coins and questioned if a normal civilian salary was even fair. With a serious look, the man says they have no other choice, making the air feel heavy. Sensing the tension, he asks if Father Andrew had actually authorized donations for this station. He crossed his arms, saying this was all nonsense because Father Andrew would never do something like that. And that is where we leave it. Trust me, you and I are about to see a whole new side of Father Andrew. Alright, you and I are diving into a story about a wise NPC priest holding a secret honor quest. Randolph wondered if Father Andrew was just low-key begging for some quick cash. Looking around the city, he saw crumbling slums, homeless folks, and a totally trashed aid station. With the once great city in total decline, he wondered what went wrong. Elsewhere, bottles of alcohol piled up as a sign of pure excess. A desperate man begged the Lord to stop, saying he had already drunk way too much. The Lord just smashed his glass in a rage, screaming at the man to stop. Enraged, the Lord barked at the man to shut up and kept drinking without a care. This was Marquess Weiser, the fallen leader of Knight's Garden. Randolph finally asks to speak directly with Father Andrew. A cloaked man tried to refuse him, but he got cut off when Hudson was called away. Then a bag was handed over, leaving him stunned. Inside was a 50,000 gold coin donation, leaving the young man completely stunned. He leaned in, promising to double that gold if they took him to the priest right now, leaving them completely floored. The golden shimmer of those coins reflected in his eyes, taking up his vision. As they led him away, he insisted on following them immediately, prompting a quick question. The scene shifts to a sunny library packed with books. Stepping inside, he introduces himself to the priest. Father Andrew calmly greets his guest with joined hands. He invites him to sit down for a talk, and Randolph quickly agrees. Once seated, the priest brings up that massive donation to the clinic. Randolph just nods, confirming the huge amount was real. The priest had heard that any donation here needed to be quite substantial. He then asked the priest if his greed was disappointing, which actually made things a bit awkward for poor Randolph. Curious, he asked how a clinic in a major city could be struggling this badly. Randolph pushed further, questioning how a place like this could be completely out of cash. The priest mentioned Sister May, saying Randolph brought her in after she collapsed, which the young man confirmed was true. Telling the story, the priest explained that Sister May's son left one day and never came back. Many others lost family too. Wilhelm waited for nights on end, but his loved ones never returned. Talking about the war, the priest said they lost great talent and wealth, but the city would eventually recover. Now pay attention, because everything changed when the Excellency's daughter, Serengeti, finally returned home. She returned without her legs and hasn't regained consciousness since that day. Countless priests tried to wake her up, but nobody succeeded. As the Lord grew impatient, the city's money dried up, and he was slowly manipulated by greedy opportunists. He took out a massive loan using the city as collateral, falling into a pit of despair. Now, all city funds are cut, and the treatment center is on the brink of closing. Even while helping Sister May, they were forced to beg for coins. They had nothing left. Understanding the gravity, he asked if her coma was caused by shock or something physical. The priest admitted that if it were physical, they could fix it. But this was a powerful curse beyond their abilities. He weighed the curse. He wondered if a blessing of the stars could break it. Thanking them, he announced his plan to see Marquis Weiser, shocking the priest. The priest begged for a moment, warning him the Marquis was a total recluse, seeing no one. Refusing to call it a refund, the priest promised to set up a meeting in a few days. But Randolph didn't have time. Smiling, he told the priest to keep the gold, as the info was already worth it. Suddenly, a voice from outside called for Father Andrew, asking if he was there. Trust me, you and I are seeing that money talks, because a guard just summoned the donor. He showed the priest that, with enough gold, doors opened themselves. As he walked away, he bid farewell, but the priest called him back, making him stop. The priest thanked him for the help, but the young man told him once more not to worry about the donation. The priest clarified it wasn't about the money, but Sister May, which took Randolph by surprise. A small, subtle smile touched Randolph's face. He thanked him for the chance to reunite and left with a serious expression. Confused, the priest just asked, "Again?" He didn't understand what Randolph meant. The scene shifts to a grand building standing tall under a cloudy blue sky. A group waits outside with Isabella and a knight. You and I are heading inside next. Stick with me, you and I are about to watch a massive power play unfold at this table. He stares the boy down. 100,000 coins for a donation? This kid has no goods, so he cannot be a merchant. The man apologizes for the abrupt invite, introducing himself as Weiser, the formidable lord of the Knight's Garden. Randolph realizes Weiser has aged. Back in the day, this man was a legendary knight, famous for his unmatched skills. With Wilhelm's guidance, his daughter Serengeti gained a star, becoming a true transcendent being within Pangea. She became an absolute powerhouse on the continent, while Weiser used his blade to settle every debt of kindness or rage. It is hard to tell if his body or soul is broken, but something about Weiser has definitely changed. Randolph knows why he is here. The Knight's Garden is drowning in debt and facing a massive financial crisis. When Randolph offers to cure Serengeti, Weiser's eyes go wide. He cannot believe what he's hearing from this kid. Weiser laughs it off. He admits he was wrong for thinking Randolph was just another rich brat with deep pockets. Now pay attention, the tension spikes as Weiser asks about the rumors and the desperate cost of saving his daughter. Suddenly, a massive fist slams into the table with bone-shaking force. Weiser roars that he's been scammed before, losing everything. He demands to know what else he must sacrifice to this world. He orders his men to drag the swindler out. But Randolph just smiles. He doesn't want a single cent. He cannot promise a miracle cure, but he's willing to give it his absolute best shot. Weiser is curious. He asks what is in it for him, and Randolph mentions settling an old debt. He reveals his true identity as the successor of Wilhelm. He demands to see Serengeti so he can treat her. Weiser just laughs. A successor? You have got to be kidding. He's heard this lie 1,000 times. Randolph is just another fake. Furious, Weiser orders his guards to kill them all. A guard swings his blade right at Randolph's head. Our main character tracks the movement, ready for the impact. With insane agility, Randolph blocks the lethal strike with nothing but a teacup. He demands a room be prepared. The guard is stunned, and even Weiser is shocked by this raw display of power. Randolph doubles down. He will prove he is Wilhelm's true heir. Weiser watches as they head out to the arena. We shift to the fighting grounds where two figures stand ready for a showdown. You and I saw this coming, right? Randolph's friend is panicking while our hero just scratches his neck in confusion. He sizes up his opponent. The guy is fully geared in heavy armor that's been blessed by a high priest. The knight tells him to confess his lies and beg for mercy. Randolph stays perfectly calm. He asks the knight not to reveal who he is if he loses. The knight agrees on his honor. The opponent charges in, swinging his heavy blade with intent to kill. Not bad. His speed is decent, Randolph admits. As the first blow nearly connects with his chest, Randolph leaps into the air to dodge. He realizes this guy's stats are actually higher than his own right now. The equipment gap makes this a life or death fight. The knight brings his sword down with crushing weight. The knight puts everything into this strike. Randolph grinds his teeth, bracing himself for the massive shock coming his way. The hit connects squarely, sending a violent shockwave through the entire arena. Randolph staggers. He used his forehead to stop the blade's guard, and now blood is pouring down his face. The knight smiles. He realizes this kid is definitely not some lowly street swindler. He calls Randolph crazy as he presses the edge. Watching the blood flow, he dismisses our hero's moves as cheap tricks. Weiser watches, noting that many chase fame by claiming to be the legendary Wilhelm's true successor. But His Majesty's swordsmanship is unique. It is a style that simply cannot be faked. Without showing those specific techniques, nobody gets that title. Still, he admits Randolph has some serious talent in him. Randolph just laughs through the blood. He tells the knight he's being cocky just because he's wearing full plate. The knight claims he only wears it because his lord commanded it. Suddenly, the pace changes completely. Randolph lands a heavy blow, catching the knight off guard before leaping onto him with overwhelming physical force. He unleashes a devastating attack using his item's power. The knight watches him with a sharp, focused gaze. Trust me, you're going to want to see this. He drops his sword and equips an extreme iron blade. All right, you and I are about to watch this battle turn absolutely legendary. Weiser and the knight are stunned to see dual blades. Hudson is confused, wondering when Randolph got those weapons. Suddenly, Randolph unleashes a barrage of rapid-fire attacks. The knight realizes the gap between strikes is shrinking. He tries to tank it with his armor, but sparks fly everywhere. Randolph notices the blade feels incredibly light while glancing at a nearby rocky structure. The knight figures heavy swords would do more damage, as these light blades aren't even scratching him. He keeps pressing his attack, thinking it will be easy to pick apart his defenses. Suddenly, shock hits. The knight sees the impossible as blood starts to flow. Randolph swaps weapons and charges. With a smirk, he tells them to witness the true legendary skill of the Night King himself. Blinding light wraps around him as he transforms into battle armor. System screens pop up, offering him two powerful reward options. Thanks to a proficiency boost, the legendary Extreme Iron Sword finally appears. The base stats look weak, but the secondary effects are pure cheating. Randolph triggers the extremity effect by wielding the extreme item. As he grabs the Extreme Iron Sword, he shouts out that it actually worked. His proficiency hits level 10, perfectly mimicking Wilhelm's style. Randolph lunges forward, hitting the knight with insane speed and precision. This relentless assault catches the knight off guard, forcing him into a desperate defense. Now pay attention, because the knight finally realizes he is outclassed. This swordsmanship makes zero sense. It is totally unpredictable. He needs to retreat to break Randolph's flow. But as he tries to escape, he is already trapped by those swift blades. He attempts a counter-push, but Randolph uses a heavy sword to knock him completely off balance. The knight is baffled. How can a style like this even exist? It feels like Randolph isn't just fighting him, he is dominating the space. When you face something that breaks logic, you freeze. Hudson, Isabella, and Marquis Weiser can only watch in total silence. The knight is paralyzed by the shock of it all. Terror takes over, and he stands there, eyes wide with pure fear. The swordsmanship of Knight King Wilhelm Heaven and Earth is finally revealed. A massive wave of wind and dust explodes, sending debris flying. Randolph presses the attack, landing heavy blows. The knight's sword clatters to the ground, signaling the end. Bleeding out, he admits he has lost this entire fight. He collapses, completely defeated. Randolph stands tall as the winner, asking if he needs to show them anything else. A soldier calls out to Weiser, still reeling from the sight. Weiser quickly calls for Lucas. Lucas immediately submits. Weiser then orders them to escort Randolph with the highest level of respect and honor. Randolph smiles through the blood. He is now officially recognized as the true successor to Wilhelm. The young girl has been trapped in a deep sleep since the expedition. Weiser sighs, saying no healer has been able to wake her. Stick with me, because Randolph notices something everyone else missed. A hidden special talent suddenly activates deep within his eyes. They identify the Demon King's curse and prepare an exorcism using the power of stellar energy. Despite the uncertainty, he warns them he will give it one shot regardless of his own doubts. Randolph places a hand on the girl's forehead, focusing every bit of his concentration. He unleashes the stellar blessing, starting a ritual that blankets the entire room. Weiser watches, absolutely stunned by the display. Randolph pushes forward, determined, even though he knows all the stellar energy will be drained. The energy isn't enough to shatter the curse completely, but it does temporarily lift the limit, creating a small opening. Slowly, her eyes flutter open, looking around in total confusion. She has no idea where she is, while the group watches her closely. At this sight, the other man reacts with pure shock and surprise. Weiser rushes to the bedside, asking if Serengeti has finally returned to them. She looks up, hearing Weiser ask if she remembers him. To his surprise, she whispers Hudson's name, shocking Weiser with the sudden memory. Weiser wonders who the other man is, while Hudson looks visibly shaken and incredibly uncomfortable. He apologizes for being so late. Looking at her tenderly, Hudson calls her Serengeti once more. He had planned to gain massive fame by caring for her, the same girl who fought on even after losing a part of her body in battle. Pushing her wheelchair, he vowed to protect her for the rest of her life. But his beliefs are crumbling now. Over time, Serengeti's strength had begun to fail as her vitality slowly faded away. Her once powerful arms now looked as thin and lifeless as dry twigs. You and I just saw a heavy confession. Hudson begs for forgiveness, while Weiser questions his true identity. All right. You and I are jumping right into a high-stakes standoff between a furious father and a cursed hero. While she lies unconscious, they wonder if the poor girl will ever wake from this deep slumber. He explains the grim reality: she only has 1 month. To break the curse, they need to gather 5 stars and boost their energy. Time is running out. He must reclaim a legendary warrior's memories before his enemies do. With 1 star found and 4 to go, he dismisses the room. He needs to speak with Serengeti alone. So, as the music shifts, the two sit down for a heavy, life-altering conversation. The father brings up the marriage promise, and he stands firm, confirming their future union. Jaw clenched, the father clearly hates this. He warns the young man he will never see his daughter again. He begs for one chance, swearing to prove he is truly worthy of her hand. Her father brings up the expedition's massive debt. That is when the House of Duke Xian offered their financial support. But that money came with a price: Serengeti herself. The Duke demanded her, even if she never woke up. Because of that deal, she will be handed over to Duke Xian in 1 month. To save the land, he has to forget her. But as he sits there, she asks who he really is. He claims he is King Wilhelm's successor. Wide awake now, she snaps back that the king had no heir. He admires her sharp mind. She remembers the day he saw a star, fearing that consuming its divine power would change her forever. A flashback hits, showing just how anxious she felt during those dark times. She wanted to keep her love for Hudson alive. But how did he know a secret only she and Wilhelm shared? He recalls giving her those exact words of encouragement long ago. Her eyes widen in total shock. Looking back, she hears her name. Wilhelm barked at her to grab on and shut up while she sobbed. It is really him. He confirms his soul is the same, even if his face has changed completely. He remembers helping her, but as a player, the details are blurry. His Star Successor class let him read those ancient memories. Now pay attention, those words of hope didn't come from him, but from King Wilhelm himself. Wilhelm was a man of few words, making his faith precious. She warns him to watch out for hunters from now on. Players who possess others and keep their memories are called sinners, but he needs to know how he died. He was certain the Demon King was dead. He drove his light into its core until the body vanished. But in those final seconds, something felt wrong. Everything just stopped at the most critical moment. He blacked out instantly, having no clue what actually happened to him back then. That was the end. His character collapsed, dead on the ground. And now, he needs the truth. You and I are finally about to learn what really happened behind his back that day. Wilhelm led 200,000 elite troops, all high on morale. They were perfectly prepared for the demon realm. Their strategy was flawless, not a single detail was missed. It seemed like a guaranteed victory. Obviously, everything went wrong. Nothing remained in that place but total, absolute destruction. In the heat of battle, a wounded Serengeti falls to her knees and looks at the sky. Her ally begs her to keep moving, offering to sacrifice herself. She screams that they are at their limit. The dying soldier warns there is no time. She has to hurry and get out of there. Crying, Serengeti says it is over, but begs the survivors to finish the mission. Too many lives were lost. They could not even reach the Demon King. Defeat was inevitable for them all. Corpses rise like puppets. All around them, monsters emerge from the dirt, growling for blood. The enemy knew their every move. It was clear. A traitor was tearing the expedition apart from inside. Thinking back, she wondered if this suicide mission was actually impossible from the very start. But then, a light breaks through. A powerful glow catches the eyes of every creature on the field. An explosion of light shatters the earth. A figure steps out, telling her she looks completely exhausted. With a sword resting on his shoulders, he tells her to rest. It will all be over soon. She is stunned. This man is the god of war, the Night King, a literal god incarnate. Trust me, with strength like his, you and I are about to see one hell of a fight. Alright, you and I are about to see a warrior whose single strike can literally reshape the entire world as Serengeti watches in awe. With nothing but a blade, he shattered the overwhelming despair closing in on them. His face is set in stone, ready for war. Together, they trek through the remains of this ruined land. Serengeti claims she's fine and can walk alone, but Wilhelm won't hear it. He needs her to save her energy. She asks if they're the last survivors, but he mentions the wounded still clinging to life at the entrance. Wilhelm warns that if they're the only survivors, she must make it home alive. He reminds her of her tears for Hudson, but she denies crying. Inside her own head, though, she knows the truth. She really didn't cry. Serengeti vows she will return to see that person once again. Suddenly, a massive purple magic circle erupts beneath them, pulsing with strange symbols. Serengeti freezes, her eyes widening as the world shifts. Wilhelm flashes a dark smile at Riley, finding this twist amusing. He tosses the girl aside, realizing the stakes just hit level 10. Now watch this. Serengeti screams for Lord Wilhelm in pure despair. Wilhelm looks dead serious, telling her to go find love and live a full life. Then, he hurls the young woman far away from the danger. She thinks to herself that she can survive this, even if the entire mission falls apart. The Night King saved her life. She knows nobody would blame him for being the sole survivor of such a brutal war. Clutching a photo, she's driven by one goal to reunite and finally find a normal, peaceful life. Wandering through the darkness, Serengeti clings to the hope of escaping alive. Then, out of nowhere, she's standing right in front of Hudson. Apologizing with a voice heavy with regret, she calls out his name. In a flash, she triggers a position swap. Wilhelm realizes something is horribly wrong, his eyes going wide. Suddenly, a massive explosion rips through the air, showering sparks everywhere. Thick smoke swallows the area, casting jagged shadows. Terrified, Wilhelm screams out her name into the haze. From the distance, Wilhelm sees her. Serengeti is slumped on the ground, looking completely lifeless. Waking up in bed, she thanks Wilhelm for the life-saving elixir. Looking back, he notes how things got incredibly dramatic. To protect her, Wilhelm placed a talisman on her to mask her from the Demon King. Touching the talisman, she asks about the upcoming events of the story. You and I both knew it was coming. The Demon King appeared and fell, exactly like Wilhelm remembered. But then, time itself seems to freeze. Twisted in agony, the Demon King writhes on the ground. A warrior emerges from the shadows. Blade ready. The Demon King is shocked, never imagining he'd be backed into a corner by a 5-star transcendent. Still, he sneers, warning that this is a deadly mistake for the Night King. As Wilhelm strikes, the Demon King laughs. He can destroy the flesh, but never the essence. Boiling with rage, the demon screams his respect for the Night King. But even without a body, he vows to claim a brand new vessel. Dark essence surges toward Wilhelm, trying to swallow him whole. A shadowy vortex swirls with terrifying intensity, but then it begins to shift. Golden light begins to pierce the darkness. The Demon King is stunned, unable to fathom where this blinding radiance is coming from. A woman appears in the glow, and Wilhelm recognizes Fina. The Demon King curses her for trying to steal his knight. Wilhelm screams as the light consumes him, feeling nothing but agonizing pain. He roars that he'll erase Fina from existence. Later, sitting by the girl, he admits everything after that moment is a total blank. We find out the Demon King tried to hijack Wilhelm's body, but Fina jumped in to stop him. He wonders what was actually going on during that lost time. Suddenly, the scene shifts before our eyes. The sun shines over the walls of the knight's garden. A guard grumbles about their schedule. complaining they've been pulling way too many shifts lately. His partner agrees, mentioning the pay is late and everyone is looking for the exit. He knows his friend is right about the delays. He turns to say more, but asks why his buddy suddenly went dead silent. Up ahead, something terrifying appears. The guard spins around, his face pale from whatever shock he just witnessed. He screams in terror that monsters have hit the horizon. The monsters charge forward, scaling the terrain with terrifying speed. It's not just a few, it's a massive wave invading the city. Long ago, a brutal war between light and shadow tore across the continent of Pangea. A red-eyed demon ruled the battlefield, spreading pure terror. Amidst the struggle, the goddess Rhea finally lost her life. Trust me, you and I won't soon forget this land swallowed by darkness. After a massive catastrophe, the continent was torn apart, its borders swallowed by a shadowy void. Stick with me, you and I are about to see how they tried to fix it with teleportation. Portals became the new highway, but neglect turned them into nightmares. Connecting to dark space, these rifts unleashed terrifying creatures and total disaster upon the world. Terrified, the man froze as a lethal danger quickly closed in on him. Spotting the beast, they let out a blood-curdling scream as the threat loomed over them. A relentless tide of giant monsters swept through the area, leaving nothing but destruction. Under this massive assault, the city is now facing a total collapse. Shifting scenes, we return to Serengeti's room. Digging through the facts, Randolph realized the Demon King tried to possess him before Pina intervened. With so many questions, he struggled to make sense of this chaotic mess. Now, pay attention here, a blue screen flickers as time stops to save the Demon King. Serengeti watched the whole thing unfold, proving non-player characters are not affected by the freeze. The game over screen appears, meaning he might lose the chance to claim the Demon King. The one who kills the Demon King is not the user, but the player who entered. Dying in-game makes you a player, but this was not Wilhelm's first death. You truly become a player once the strongest character you created permanently dies. As a hardcore gamer, he built countless characters, only to abandon them later on. Now his path is clear. First, he has to deal with those traitors who sabotaged the expedition. They say Serengeti was a brave leader, but the mission failed due to internal betrayal. He vows to hunt down every single snake that got in his way. Second, the Demon King is likely alive since his core essence was never destroyed. Killing him is the final goal. Suddenly, someone calls him a holy awakener, leaving him totally baffled by it. A desperate Hudson warns that the city is under fire. He demands to know exactly what happened. Flames swallow the surroundings as the group watches the chaos erupt. In the distance, soldiers and beasts clash amidst the smoke and fire. Warriors trade bloody blows with monsters. As Isabella explains, this is a Warp Gate invasion. Randolph is fuming, wondering if Weiser stole the Warp Gate maintenance funds too. Mounted knights charge into the fray with a powerful, coordinated strike. He soon spots Marquis Weiser leading the knights. Weiser is shocked to see Wilhelm's successor standing right here. Asking if he stayed in the city, our hero demands a situational report. The Marquis says the city is burning with 3 active warps. He is totally losing his mind. Weiser begs for his strength, knowing his help could save them all. New quests appear. We must protect the city and seal the rifts forever. Is the system insane, offering a quest now? Weiser screams they cannot hold the line. Hudson ignores all logic, begging for help back in Serengeti's territory. Randolph calculates the worst case. They are okay for now since only normal monsters appeared. Okay, I know what you are thinking. But in 10 minutes, a hybrid arrives. Nobody here can stop it. To prevent the hybrid, they must destroy all 3 warps within 10 minutes. But the team knows their combat power is too low. Normal soldiers are trying, but they are outnumbered. This is a very high-risk gamble. He cannot ignore the reward, the golden rule shop. But the timing is terrible. He is not ready for this. The smart move would be to run. There is no point dying for a lost cause. The situation feels heavy. Desperate people run for their lives, screaming for help in the chaos. Many charge into the fire, but a shadowy figure rises behind one terrified man. A child screams loudly as absolute chaos erupts all around him. Creatures strike down civilians in a brutal massacre. A girl begs for her mother in despair. You and I just saw a hero rise. Randolph is finally ready to fight. Alright, let's dive into an epic world where survival is the only rule. Hopping onto his horse, the Lord orders his knights to follow. Together, they charge forward to stop the beasts hunting down the priest. He raises his blade, ready for blood. With one swift strike, he cuts deep into the monster, spilling blood as the Lord tells the priest to climb up. They have to get out now. I can't yet, the priest whispers, clutching the wounded man. Suddenly, an axe-wielding beast towers over them, and death looks them right in the eye. He screams out for Father Andrew, watching the chaos unfold with a terrified look. Isabella strikes with deadly precision, shielding the fallen as blood sprays. Even the Marquis is stunned by her raw skill. The priest asks if Isabella is okay, but there's no time as the group pushes through the danger. Grip firm on his sword, he warns that this mission is suicide, giving them one last chance to quit. Randolph pulls out his vials, swearing to protect the land with every ounce of his strength. She looks down, complaining about how miserable this trip is, only to get told to shut up. Standing tall, Isabella admits they have no choice but to help the wounded. He knows this mission is suicide. Stick with me, because no sane person would ever agree to this. Randolph accepts the quest, making it clear he isn't doing this out of pity or some noble sense of duty. Amidst the ruins, a large engraved stone stands out, showing us the past. He finally admits his motive: he just loves a good challenge. He calls for everyone's attention. So, from now on, the group stands ready to face the massive horde. Suddenly, the monsters charge forward with absolute fury, as he warns they'll have to carve a path through the enemy. The Marquis bellows an order and leads the charge, sword held high, leading the knights. Meanwhile, the city is literally falling apart under the demon assault. Civilians flee in terror. A companion asks the Marquis if he's serious about charging in, warning him it's a death trap. A soldier calls the Marquis's name in worry. It's a suicide mission, but the Marquis knows they have to push through. Looking at his team, Randolph shouts for their attention, doubling down on their dangerous plan. Now, the small group stands alone against the massive, advancing horde. You and I can see they're hopelessly outnumbered, but Randolph swears they'll cut through. The Marquis asks if a head-on charge is even possible, fearing they'll be totally annihilated. Randolph responds by asking if there's even another choice. He says they have to destroy the portal outside the castle, or this monster wave will never stop. Promising a clear path, the Marquis glares ahead. He grips his reins tight and bellows for the charge, leading from the front. Keep the pace. He orders no one to slow down, no matter how bad things get. They keep charging as he screams for them not to stop, even as a city-destroying giant looms ahead. Looking shocked, the Marquis admits he trusts them, especially the successor of the legendary Lord Wilhelm. Randolph looks at Weiser and praises his grit for running non-stop. Then, he finally spots the target, realizing the distance is perfect. Leveling his spear, he warns everyone they've entered the attack zone. Bracing himself, Weiser lands a devastating blow, showing off his insane power, but a massive beast snarls, ready to strike back. He whips out a teleportation book, opening a 30-second portal. Meanwhile, the city collapses into ruins as that giant monster continues its unstoppable march. Over in Russell Forest, a druid watches the portal, prepared for battle. He says he's here to repay the forest's kindness to a dear friend. Recognizing his friend, the druid approaches with a smirk, ready for action. The druids unleash their fury, granting the request as a rain of enchanted arrows decimates the monsters. The Marquis is stunned, shouting in confusion as this unexpected help arrives. The Marquis never expected dryads to show up, but Randolph had an ace up his sleeve. This is the reward from the Russell Forest subquest. He remembers donating that wind spirit and dryads. Yeah, they never forget a favor from a friend. Randolph waits for their aid, telling them to show everyone what it means to have friends. Trusting his team, he grips his bow tight. Meanwhile, the druid spots monsters clogging up the entrance. Knowing the team needs to pass, the druid steps up calmly, using his magic to blast a path. Focusing all his power, the druid promises he'll tear a hole right through the enemy lines. He fires a massive energy beam, and trust me, you and I are going to want to see the fallout of this impact. Alright, you and I are diving into a chaotic battlefield, where magic explosions rip the earth apart as monsters are torn into pieces. Another beast is sliced clean in half. Look at that power. Debris and blood spray everywhere, painting the ground in a grim trail of carnage. Suddenly, the earth erupts. Something massive just slammed into the ground, sending dirt and shockwaves flying everywhere. Watching the destruction, two warriors freeze in shock. One looks absolutely stunned, barely managing to choke out a single word before the chaos continues. The giant monster disintegrates into dust, and the entire army erupts in a massive celebration. The Marquis is hyped, cheering from his horse, but Isabella shuts it down. She warns that they still have to destroy the rift. Randolph admits that path was cleared easily, but reminds them that thing was merely a boss monster. Raising his sword, the Marquis silences the crowd. He warns them it is way too early to celebrate. The monster wave is far from finished. Here's the plan. They have only 6 minutes before the hybrid arrives, meaning they have to destroy those rifts right now. To stop this crisis, he orders the units to split up. The news shocks the surrounding warriors. There is no time to waste. Randolph warns they cannot leave any rift unprotected right now. The dryads might slow the monster army down, but a massive force is still guarding those rifts. As the knights march across the plains, he stresses a hard truth: they can only manage 2 separate units. The Marquis understands, but asks about the final rift. There is no time for a round trip. Randolph goes silent, his expression becoming incredibly serious. Then he drops a bombshell. He and Father Andrew will handle the last rift alone. Everyone is stunned by the suggestion. Randolph stands his ground. He claims this is their only real shot at surviving this mess. He warns them again, those rifts must go before the hybrid emerges. Every single second counts right now. The warriors are unsure, but they decide to trust the man who got them this far. Without a word, they charge toward their targets. Isabella tells Hudson to stop doubting him. Randolph always has a hidden plan, and he specializes in making the impossible happen. He will definitely pull this off, Isabella says, putting her faith in him. When the priest asks for the details, he gets a blunt answer. The two of them are going to smash that rift. He needs a moment of silence to think. Meanwhile, Weiser, Isabella, and Hudson have already bolted toward the two remaining rifts on the horizon. But here is the catch. A mutant monster, the Dark Warrior, is waiting at that final rift. Now pay attention, this enemy is different. He is too dangerous to leave to others. With Andrew's help, it might take 30 seconds, but any delay ruins everything. They have no choice but to bet it all on this plan. A roar shakes the air. The hydrogen dragon appears, signaling that their plan might actually work. Time is slipping away. The hybrid is nearly summoned as the rifts fall. Isabella sprints toward her objective with everything she has. It is down to the wire. Hudson races toward the portal as the countdown ticks closer to 0. Monsters pour from the portal, but destruction is near. The hybrid appears as the countdown hits only 34 seconds. You and I can see the victory conditions are finally met. Only one rift remains, and the aura of a mutant monster is surging. Emerging from the portal, the mutant monster finally reveals its terrifying true form. An explosion rocks the site. The Dark Warrior emerges from the smoke, wielding a massive sword and ready for the final battle. With only one goal left, Randolph grips his blade as an overwhelming power begins to manifest. Both of them manifest their power for the final rift. Running full speed, he hears he must reach the last available teleport. He realizes time is up. That final teleport is reserved strictly for the successor of Lord Wilhelm. Activating a secret option, a massive celestial dragon materializes right behind Randolph, ready for war. With pure determination in his eyes, Randolph uses the boots of Hermes to fly, moving with speed that leaves everyone else behind. Gripping his sword, he braces himself for the collision coming next. He clashes with the Dark Warrior. The impact is brutal, throwing Randolph back and leaving a massive trail through the dirt. Despite the insane force, he manages to stabilize his feet. He lets out a primal growl, his face twisted in pure rage. The dragon strikes, multiple heads lunging forward in a lethal, coordinated attack. The colossal dragon starts breaking apart as it is hit, but Randolph makes sure every creature in sight is defeated. The hydrogen dragon falls, and he hears about a 24-hour wait. But look, the Dark Warrior is completely unharmed. Randolph does not hesitate. He charges straight at the enemy, striking them head-on with an impact that shakes the ground. You and I just saw a legend born. It is go time. All right. You and I are about to watch a clash where every second counts. The enemy retreats, but they're back in a flash with lethal precision. The priest quickly heals his wounded arm. Seeing an opening, the monster doesn't hesitate and charges straight ahead. Randolph gets tossed back as time slips away. The priest looks up and spots the beast in the distance. Suddenly, the monster is right there, catching the priest off guard. His eyes widen as terror sets in. Steel meets steel as Randolph and the beast trade heavy blows. Meanwhile, the priest is falling right toward the creature. The Dark Warrior cleaves through the mob in one swipe. But don't celebrate yet, because hundreds more are closing in. Randolph tracks every move with laser focus, his eyes widening as the opponent shifts position. He triggers his level 1 star strike, smashing through the group of monsters. From the ground, the priest watches the absolute carnage. Randolph grips his twin blades, ready to tear through the next wave. Locked in, he lowers his head to read the enemy. With only 11 seconds left on the clock, he crosses his swords for a final strike. Watch this, a massive explosion rocks the middle of the field, sending dust everywhere. The impact is so intense, it sweeps across the entire battlefield. Blood splatters across the dirt right after that brutal, direct collision. Randolph gets caught by the Dark Warrior's blade. Even after taking the hit, he's still processing what happened. Finding a gap, he drives his blade deep into his opponent's foot. Randolph grins, knowing he's just pinned the enemy down. The Dark Warrior looks genuinely stunned by the move. Then, Randolph screams Father Andrew's name to get his attention. Father Andrew begins to pray. Randolph begs him to use the prayer of reverence. He demands the prayer for himself. We jump back 4 minutes, right as they're racing toward the portal. Andrew is clearly worried, doubting if they can actually pull this off in time. Randolph stares at the portal while Andrew warns that they're running out of time. Andrew's frustrated. Why only the two of them? If they fail, nobody gets out alive. When Randolph asks if he wants to save the city, Andrew doesn't even hesitate. Randolph asks for that special prayer. It's the highest form of worship for the goddess, and it's their only shot. Here's the twist. You and I need to know, this godlike power only lasts for a very short time. Using it on someone else means the priest is essentially turning his back on his goddess. It's a heavy price. It's described as being as painful as having your heart ripped out. The loss is total, like his entire world has just vanished into nothing. The prayer of reverence is a gamble where the priest risks everything. Randolph is asking him to dump his life's work. Andrew's shocked he even knows about it. It was supposed to be a secret. Randolph doesn't care how he found out, only that Andrew acts. Randolph knows this sacrifice is the only way to boost their survival odds. He knew Andrew's love for his people would never let him refuse. Randolph basically holds the citizens hostage to convince him, and Andrew finally bows in a deep gesture of respect. Andrew admits that if Randolph hadn't asked, he would have lived with eternal guilt. With tears in his eyes, Andrew thanks him. Randolph looks back, caught off guard by the emotion. A brilliant light shines from Andrew, a true priest and a sage. The ability activates. Randolph gets a massive power boost, but it only lasts 2 seconds. Now, Randolph can mimic the strength of a legendary warrior. He warns the beast that this isn't the same fight as before. He raises his swords, revealing a technique he'd never waste on regular monsters. Rain begins to fall as things get real. He unleashes the Night King's sword technique and charges the enemy. The Dark Warrior feels the weight of it. A world-shattering blow strikes with everything he's got. The sky clears as the druids and local families look up in total confusion. And that's where we leave it, with Andrew looking up as the duration of his power finally ends. Stick with me. Randolph cuts his star strike and finally shatters the portal. He declares the city saved just in time since the main mission is done and he finally leveled up. Years ago in a flashback, the priest remembers desperately pleading with the legendary Night King, Wilhelm. He begged them to listen, kneeling and sobbing on the ground, as he implored anyone to please save his poor daughter. That's when he showed her his daughter, Andasar, twisted and cursed into a monstrous creature. He locked her away in the basement to hide her from the world, but her growing demonic power became too much to handle alone. He searched in secret for a master strong enough to purify Andasar while keeping their secret safe. Soon, a mission pops up asking if he'll accept someone with 100 points of honor. Looking up with a serious face, he tells the priest to lead the way, leaving the old man totally stunned. He gazes up at the massive, imposing ceiling as the weight of the moment sets in. Then he looks down at the floor where Andasar waits, her eyes glowing red in her transformed state. He asks if this is the girl, and as the priest confirms, he promises to purify her. Now pay attention, this is where we find out Night King Wilhelm was the one who saved them. Right then, the Legion of Darkness retreats back into the abyss as the portal slams shut. The priest asks how he wielded Wilhelm's sword style, and he smiles, revealing he is the successor while unequipping his item. Stunned, the priest realizes his master's disciple just saved him, even as blood begins dripping from his mouth. He's floored by this incredible destiny, but suddenly he's coughing up blood from a sharp, agonizing pain. Randolph rushes over to Father Andrew, worried sick, as he asks the priest bleeding on the ground if he is okay. He explains that his old illness is back, so he is forced to use star power just to stay alive. Knowing how bad the situation is, he realizes he's got to try something risky right now. He remembers Andrew owes his master a huge debt, which the priest quickly admits is true. Randolph offers to clear Andrew's sins using that special indulgence the priest had actually given him earlier. He clears the priest's sins, unleashing a sacred power. This is an indulgence, a legendary high priest pardon. You feel that? This rare item is only granted 3 times ever, forgiving any sin in the name of the goddess except for the 10 cardinal evils. In the game world, this thing is used to completely reset oppression levels. It's basically a penalty for toxicity with no physical form. Since a contract with Dramit is a type of faith, he orders him to honor the agreement. Absolutely furious, he curses and demands to know how he found out about their secret contract. He feels his star power returning and realizes the item works for its issuer. He only tried using it because it worked with Dramit, never actually expecting it to succeed here. Then, the old man wonders if he got that indulgence from a different priest, but Randolph quickly denies it, knowing full well he can't reveal his secret identity as Wilhelm right now. He considers just knocking the guy out to end the situation right then and there. Isabella rides up on her horse, shouting for Randolph to make sure he's still in one piece. He smiles as he uses the distraction, thinking the timing couldn't be more perfect for his escape. He says he is leaving because everyone has come to find him, but tells the stubborn old man to just view this whole thing as help from heaven. Check the rankings. Randolph is sitting comfortably in first place as his points keep climbing higher. He thanks the Dryad for their survival, and the spirit just says helping friends is what you do. The group promises to help friends in danger despite the poisoned air, while the city starts to rebuild everything using the money financed by Hudson. Alchemists use Hudson's money to fix the distortion and make sure it never corrupts the land again. Andrew gets his star power back but needs rest, while potions go around to heal the wounded. Hudson starts getting annoyed after buying a mountain of potions, wondering why he's the only one paying. He asks why they aren't doing this for Serengeti, only to find out she fell asleep because a terrible curse has already consumed her entirely. Sensing the tension, Randolph tosses something over while the other guy gets ready to catch it. He catches the bottle and is completely shocked to find a rare elixir of blessings. Randolph explains to give 1 drop every 2 hours for a month to restore her legs, making Hudson ask if he's a gamer who bought it from the shop. He confirms it. And trust me, you and I are going to see Randolph dominate those rankings. Alright. You and I are about to dive into the story of a legendary player who vanished without a trace. Feeling pretty awkward about his legend status, he apologized for keeping his identity as a player a total secret. When Hudson asked what he should call him now, he simply said to just keep things exactly as they were. Questioning the huge purchase, the other explained that winning first place gave him massive amounts of golden rule time. Since the city was weak, his score skyrocketed even without a massive individual feat. Looking at the shop, he knew these items were vital for his journey. Between the White King's Fang and a black magic grimoire, he saw a dragon heart and unique materials. Even as Wilhelm, he barely survived without that White King's Fang in the past. If his gear stays registered in the shop even after being equipped, his time was way more valuable than expected. Now, stick with me, because this is where the politics get messy and the real trouble starts for our heroes. Hudson dropped a bombshell. Marquis Weiser was trading Serengeti to House Zion just to pay off a massive loan. To make things worse, Maxim, one of the 8 heroes, backed House Zion, and Hudson couldn't stop them alone. He remembered Maxim from the Great Expedition, a mercenary captain who barely managed to escape through a dangerous swamp. Confronting the 8 heroes was the new plan, with Maxim being his first target. He told Hudson to stall for time until he could finally return. He returned as fast as possible. He demanded they keep Serengeti, but Hudson was worried. He explained that while she does not fight, she is someone you can trust. With a smile, he said she trusts Hudson and that he was truly counting on him. Hudson looked stunned as he took those words to heart. Saying goodbye, the man wished him a safe and successful journey. Look at this, you and I can see the city as a ruin. He thanked them for the fresh gear, though he felt it was a bit much. Weiser and the others watched as they wished him luck. Preparing to leave, he asked Hudson to make sure the compensation he mentioned was handled properly and quickly. While walking through the broken city, he spotted a massive hero statue. He read the names carved into the stone: James, Noah, Lucas, Jacob, and Zion, as he gazed up at their faces. Touching the cold stone, he told the legendary heroes to rest well. He thanked them for their bravery and wished them eternal peace before finally walking away. When asked about the reward, a man learned the successor would pay the families of every knight who fell. Everyone was shocked by the generosity. It was 10,000 gold coins for every single family left behind. After telling Hudson he would pay the bill, a multi-headed beast appeared and asked where they were headed next. Isabella heard the news they were heading exactly where the stars commanded. But he had another goal, finding a specific person to join them. He smiled, knowing this mysterious ally was the key to boosting their combat power. He pointed to a hooded figure, revealing it was another character he had abandoned long ago, just like he did with Isabella. Trust me, you and I need to see Isaac, the Thundercutter.